alchemy from the
100%.
And that's why it all just went nutty. Because
no, when they didn't even remove it, it went underground.
Yeah,
because Sir Isaac Newton in the 60s, he's considered the father of modern science, but he called himself an alchemist. So
Yes.
that was a transition period where somehow the man who studied alchemy his whole life became the father of modern science, and they just classified him as the father of modern science and eradicated everything that had to do with his occult practices, his studies, and what got him and opened his mind to discover or rediscover these modern sciences. It's crazy.
I'm not doing it, Spin. I love you, brother, but not doing it. This is unless he wants you're not coming up. You're not going to come up and troll, bro.
I got no problem with him as long as he wants to join in the conversation or ask questions about stuff like this. But other than that, it's your show, brother.
No, it's not. Don't troll, bro. This is an occult talk. I want this to be serious and good stuff.
And by the way, last night, Spin, I was trying to get you on. Oh, there he is. Hey, buddy. I was trying to get you on his show because I want you to be exposed to his audience because he likes to be dismissive and you were holding him to the fire.
Well, I mean, I do have good ideas. Sometimes I did email him and he did respond.
He did.
Are we talking about Shapiro right now?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, he did respond. He did respond, sir.
He said, not to change the subject, but he said, the majority of my show is debating with people who I oppose and who have the complete opposite viewpoint. I said, that's not necessarily true because on this panel right now, you have like a full embodiment of MAGA to the left of the screen. And you should bring him on if you're serious. And he goes, who? Which one? So I was like, oh, that's the opening.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's why I was being nice to you.
Well, thank you.
I mean,
you're both excellent gentlemen. I wish you would get along. You should.
Oh, we do get along. You just don't know what happens behind the scenes.
What?
Well, I don't ask questions like that.
Behind the scenes? You mean like in the chat?
Yeah, you don't. I kind of, I'm not trolling, Ben. I would never do that to you. Only on Thursdays. Only on Thursdays.
Right.
Right. Today's Thursday, by the way, for me anyway.
Thursday. That's me too. It's 12:11.
No. I haven't given up on Shaman. I mean, I'm sure maybe someday he will come to the impasse that I'm right and he's wrong. And
about what?
Well, did you notice, Shaman, when you were talking?
Huh? Sorry. What?
Did you notice his Ben's face? Because when I came into the background, he was trying so hard not to laugh. So hard.
Like, did you just show up to an occult show just to troll fucking Shaman Omar?
He's not trolling.
I see he's not trolling, but I didn't want
Clay. How fancy of you. Now you're being trolled.
No, Clay wants this subject too. No, Clay wants this subject too. I don't even have any. I can tell.
Oh, Ben, by the way,
I do like this subject.
Tonight, I had nothing to do with Clay coming up here. Now, last night, and half the people that were on the panel, I had something to do with it.
For sure.
Yeah, he needed that. Apparently, he had a burr up his ass and wanted to fight 7 people. And
you and I probably agree at least 70% politically. I would say.
Yeah.
It's the other 30% that
Yeah, but
if it's under 10%, I can put up with it. But if it's anything over 10%, you're mincemeat.
Yes, but 20% of the stuff hasn't come to fruition where you and I would take positions on, right? Like, for example, last night I said that Massey was overthrown by AIPAC and Israel, which is Zionist-controlled money and influence. And
$15 million worth of
34 million. 34 million. AIPAC alone was 16. AIPAC alone was 16.
Like
Adelson had 10. Adelson had 10. You have to add it all up. But my point is, you would say that it's because he crossed Trump, and that's MAGA strength, right? Neither of us know anything yet until time passes. So that's not a disagreement. That's a perspective.
Okay, I got to give that one to you.
Well, it's not about to me. It's what we're in the middle are impasses. It's not mine.
No, I get it.
I'm not winning that.
Here's how I feel. Whatever comes out of whatever, we haven't seen it, and you're right. You are absolutely 100% right. We have not seen.
There's almost zero chance that it doesn't come out that this was completely election fraud,
guys. It's already coming out.
Have you seen the stats on it,
guys? Did you see the
midterm election? They more than doubled the number of votes.
Guys, did you see the election party? Did you see the guys? Yeah, like they don't even know his fucking name. There's 25 people in a Denny's.
Yeah.
And they said there was 300% more mail-in ballots than ever, and he only won by less than 5,000 votes. Come on, we've seen this before, guys.
Well, from what I understand, Kentucky's a left-leaning state anyway. So to see a vote swing one way or another because it's a southern state actually isn't surprising.
No,
and that even means
you're absolutely right.
To double the number of votes in a midterm election compared to a fucking
exactly. Thank you, that's
election. That's reversed. In the midterms, nobody votes, and in the presidential, way more people vote. They doubled the number of votes.
Yes. And by the way, they're both Republicans, and Massey. It was a Republican primary. Massey considers himself a libertarian, but he's a Republican, right? Candidate. And the other guy, no one even knows his fucking name. Now, by the way, he's like a Navy SEAL. It's not about it's not about like him personally. I think he's a puppet, because Trump even said, "Give me any body." He said, "Put a body in there." Do you remember when he said, "Bring me anybody. We're going to remove like." Look, did you guys watch? I watched today. I watched Tucker Carlson. I watched Dave Smith. I watched everybody.
Dude, Dave Smith just hanging out with fucking Nick Fuentes is
awesome.
Much. It's too much.
Yeah,
no. Too much. They completely disagree on a couple key points, but they both agree on the most important subject right now, and that's foreign influence in our country. And by the way, right now it's Israel, and once we eradicate Israel's influence, it could be Saudi Arabia or China. I'm against all that shit. Okay, I'm against all foreign influence. If it was Afghanistan, you would hear me saying, "Fuck these Afghan people. We don't want their influence in our country." I don't give a shit which country it is. Canada. I'm saying take Canada, Mexico, and make it America North, America South. As far as I'm concerned,
there should be no dual citizens in a
no
position. That should never happen.
My friend Andy Darrow is running for Congress in the 24th district here in Miami, and he's going to overthrow one of the biggest AIPAC recipients, and I'm his fucking campaign manager. And watch the magic we create. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see some shit. We have mandatory castration. We have local, and then we have national. We have mandatory castration for convicted pedophiles. Right? We're going to say bring back public.
I'll sign that.
Yeah. Anyone who doesn't vote for that, we know which side of the fence you're on. We're saying release the Epstein files immediately. Term limits for a congressman. What that is, we don't really know, but proposing these bills. Also, no foreign influence money, no dual citizenships. While election, after you can do whatever the hell you want, and you can rescind one if you'd like as well, before going into Congress or Senate. And there's some other kind of wild shit that I'm trying to get him on board with. But the most important thing is radical transparency. So you take the blockchain, and so the problem, you elect someone into Congress, they vote for you. In our district would be 110 to 120,000 people. These people vote for you. Then you go into Congress and you do whatever the fuck you want. Why is that? You're just an elected official to do the people's bidding. So We're taking every bill that gets proposed in Congress. It's available online and through the app. And every person has a specific number, like through the blockchain. And everyone will get to vote in our district where he votes. And he votes according to every single vote that's tallied in his district for that. He's not making a single vote on his fucking own. And that's how it should be run.
I agree with that 100%.
And that would transform everything as fast as possible. And anyone who says they don't want to do that, well, we know you're not the right person for America and your people, are you? So we like trap these dirty ass, and they're, by the way, they're all dirty lawyers. It's our fault. We don't elect like military men. We don't elect philosophers and professors. We elect dirty fucking lawyers. And when you have a dirty lawyer, they're always going to work for whoever pays them. And in this case, who is it?
Yeah, dirty lawyers or draft dodgers. That's our two options for president for years.
Well,
did you dodge the draft? Are you a dirty lawyer? You must be one of them. Disbarred lawyers.
What sucks is that the farmers can't do it. Because if you could actually bring up a farmer as a candidate, I'm sure that the clear speaking, the knowledge of the basic, elements of just life itself, that's going to appeal to people. But unfortunately, because the farmers have the farm to run, that's just, the basic positions in life, those guys who actually do shit with life.
Yeah.
And it's not just farmers, it's other positions in life. They don't have time to go out and run for office. It's literally these fucking lawyers, like you said, and dirty ass motherfuckers that want power and that don't have anything better to do.
Well, a politician is a politician. That's their first mission, right? What I'm going to say to that is you need a businessman that is a politician. I'm not saying, look, Donald Trump is a businessman first, period.
Not a good one, but a businessman.
He's a businessman.
He was supposed to be that guy.
Yes. So if there could be a politician and a businessman and mesh them together, in my opinion,
that was Ross Perot, sir.
Exactly. I was just about to say.
Well, I'm not dismissing Ross Perot. I'm saying whether it be on the Republican or the Democrat side, I think at that point, if we had that mesh, complete mesh, not some bullshit, that.
Yeah, not the slimy car salesman type business.
Yes, but guys, those are lawyers. Look, you could hire the best lawyer, and he's great. He works for you. But if your opposition hired him, then he's the biggest nightmare of your fucking life. The same guy, just a matter of who handed him the money, and whoever has more money can have the bigger one up the ladder. And they're all clerks of the court. So ultimately, it's not how good of a lawyer they are; it's how good their relationships are. So being a lawyer teaches them how to be dirty fucking politicians. I mean, you start running for Congress and you start running for Senate, you're not taking little clients with $50. You're getting big people in your congressional and state, right? And those people have things they want fucking done. Okay, and in the here I know exactly who they are. They're all the big fucking $1 billion developers who So I already know who they are.
I guess my point is, I think at that point, if we had those dynamics, right, I think that America would be a lot stronger than it is now. I think when I go back to the scenario we were just talking about, we already have the prosecutors that is the most horrible lawyer in the world, right? And then you have the defense attorney that is supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And yes, Shaman, I do agree.
Court. They both employees of the court. They both answer.
They drank out the same cup.
I get that. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
That's our system. And But I agree with you though. Trump, you're right. That's what
Ross Perot was the original what Trump pretends to be. That was
Ross Perot said, I'm a billionaire. He said, I'm in America. He says, we're going to shut down this NAFTA shit before all our jobs go to Mexico. He said, we're going to put term limits on these dirty ass politicians. We're going to have, he was going to increase like corruption charges for politicians. He said the healthcare, of course, and education and so on, but it was a big political reform stuff, man.
Right. Well,
career politicians was the whole thing.
I have come to the idea, and I have come to the opinion that this world needs politicians. This world needs businessmen. This world needs courts.
I would disagree on the politicians.
No, we need public servants.
Public servants. At the country's inception, the best men were forced into the positions.
Yes.
And then they gave up those positions shortly thereafter.
Yes,
Actually,
Washington
my
was a
favorite Roman emperor.
Oh, I don't disagree with that in entirety. No,
please, we don't have anyone else who's not on one side of this bullshit. You're the only man that is not on a side. And he said, fuck. And then someone convinced him, basically, you're either going to finish the job of what we started or it's going to fall apart. And he's like, okay, I'll do it.
And then they offered him the kingship after the fact.
Exactly.
He was legitimately offered the kingship.
Yes.
He's like, fuck no.
They offer when they were figuring out what name. When they were figuring out what name, he was the one who turned down like 12 of the 19 names because they said it was too much like a king.
Like, no.
Well, here's the thing, or the trouble, and Shaman, you said something months ago that kind of made me think, right? You said that you advocated for disabilities or disability rights. You made this statement, and I kind of backed off a little bit because I wanted to find out about that.
You backed off?
I did.
Okay.
I did. In my own way.
It was in Miami. It wasn't in national. It wasn't a national thing.
Right. You had said in Miami.
Yeah, we had a thing locally.
Right. You know, I believe that, and I'm biased because I have a disability, right?
Which I didn't know until our third interaction.
Sure, and that's fine.
Yeah, he like the first time I talked to a shaman, and I didn't tell him because it's not my business to tell him. But
yeah,
you two had actually talked about having a physical altercation, and like shaman's like, I'd beat his ass, and I'm like, and I'm in my head like, I knew you were in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
like,
I had no idea. But you have to remember, I spent like from I was fighting Muay Thai professionally from 17 to 28. Like, so someone telling me you want to fucking box or kickbox to me is like asking a guy who's a professional fucking soccer player for 15 years if he wants to kick a fucking soccer ball. Like, of course I'm going to kick a soccer ball.
Of course.
I have 127 professional fucking fights. I'll have no problem creating one outside of this fucking on the street here. You know what I mean?
Muay Thai is a mean ass martial art.
Yeah, that's. But I was
nasty.
I was at 13. I started that at 13. And so at 17, I fought my first fight professional when I was a junior in high school.
I would tackle his ass right fucking
I
now.
but I also wrestled.
I'm not going to fight you, bro. I'm not going to fight you. I'm telling you right now that I am going to go lethal on you straight up.
Yeah, I have
not playing around
weaponry.
about it.
No, I have unbelievable weaponry, brother. I have unbelievable.
Well, you better bring.
Hence, that's why I'm not scared. But
yeah, I have amazing guns.
Be dressed all in black, all that good stuff in the middle of the night, kind of thing.
I have my.
The point. Back to the point I was making, and
I have. It's unnecessary.
Then I did not come up to troll. I mean, the picture, yes, that was to troll, but I wanted to hear, and that's why I went like this. Because I wanted to hear what you were talking about. He didn't bring me up right away. I was there for a while. That's all I'm going to say.
The only thing I've done for disabilities was in North Bay Village talking about this thing called Island Walk, right? And so we had to actually have a vote. It's North
Why
Bay
does
Village.
that sound? Why does that sound familiar to you?
North Bay Village is
no Island Walk. Why does that sound familiar?
That's kind of the name. I don't know. I mean, Island Walk's not that proprietary. I'm sure there's Island Walks all over the place. But
I just heard the term. I just heard the title.
So they're creating in North Bay Village something called Island Walk, which is basically a new walkway for the public that's going to go from the one side of North Bay Village, which is like a strip between Miami Beach and Miami. And then there's a causeway on two sides. And then there's like there's like the commercial area. Then there's like a residential area. And so they have this Island Walk. And so there was a vote to extend it or not. And so we just had it extended and spent another 28% on the budget to make it handicap accessible, and then also ban fucking dogs from going on it.
Really, Sarah? Haha, wheelchair wars. That's good. I like that one.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And that was yeah. But the point was that everyone was kind of letting it slide, and we brought it back because I'm a lobbyist in North Bay Village.
Sure. Well, the reason I brought it up was most places in Florida, and I'm sure that you can agree, are handicap accessible. There are a lot of places, like my corporate attorney, right? His building is not handicap accessible. So he has to meet with me elsewhere, but it's an old building and it's a historical building. So according to the Florida Historical Society, they can't alter the building.
Yeah, that's the problem. And that was part of what the situation was, because originally it was only going to be 8 feet wide and they were going to move it to 10 feet wide, but there needs to be a separate lane that's non-bike that has for handicap, because there's a lot of old people in Miami, I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, there's a lot of old fucking people here in Central Florida.
Florida, there's a lot of old people.
That's Florida's income is the old people.
Yeah, it's where the old folks are. You ever heard the song "Way Down Upon the Swanee River"?
Yes, yeah. I've heard it.
That's Sarah.
It's actually the state song.
Good night, Sarah. We will see you tomorrow night, and take some extra sanity pills.
What is the debate tomorrow? Tomorrow is
the immigrants.
Leftist.
Yeah.
That was going to be about like last night, I suppose.
Ben, take a few extra dabs before you get on.
The thing is like I was 100% and still saying we need to have a wall, right? Obviously, anyone who says we don't need a wall is not a real fucking American, for the record. No one should be able to walk over here. And the people that are the most serious about that stuff are people whose family, or at least a family member, immigrated fucking legally. You know why? Because then you learn that when someone migrates legally to a country, you know what they do? They're grateful. You know what they do when they're grateful? They assimilate. They learn the fucking language. Can you imagine how hard it is if you speak Russian to learn English? Can you imagine how hard if you speak Chinese to learn English? So if you speak Spanish and English are not that hard. I speak both. It's quite simple, you know. So
yeah, they're really close
because you don't give a fuck. Right? There's no
literally like one letter, right?
Because I struggle horribly with Spanish or any of the Latin languages, because English is more than half Germanic, and then some Latin and French chucked in there.
Yeah,
like anything that's basically a classy word is going to be Latin, but your common tongue is all Germanic. And so Germanic and any languages from there, I pick up immediately. In Russian, actually, I dated a Armenian Russian girl, that green card Armenian Russian. And she's gotten her naturalization at this point. But I learned how to speak Russian just hanging out with them. And Sarah sends the big $20 and says, grift, grift, grift. Don't forget, Ben, to send Ben all your money, or at least easy hit the like button. It's free to share too. Yes, I always forget to say the like and share part. I've got to get something to. I am the worst self promoter ever.
Yeah, like so the thing is, we also have to.
I got to get rid. Never mind. Go ahead. I got to get rid of somebody. Hold on. Go ahead, John.
You're about to leave. I was going to say one last thing on this subject is is that we have to, when we say build the wall, we also have to look at our country as a whole. We should not have money coming through bank system. There's a wall that needs to be built from this foreign influence. This is a fucking problem. We're watching it happen. There, if you go to Haaretz, go to all of the Jerusalem Times, Jerusalem Post, they're laughing. Go to AIPAC's Twitter, and they were laughing about it right after the announcement of Massey losing. This is a fucking problem. And people are like, oh, it doesn't have it. By the way, just for the record, anyone who keeps, well, Jews, no one said Jew. We said AIPAC, we said Israel, we said foreign influence. I didn't say a religion yet. And if we want to have an argument about Jews, we can do that. I have no problem. I have 4-hour discussions on that subject as well. That's not the fucking subject. Okay, the subject is,
let's not do the 4-hour discussion on that, because I already walked that line pretty hard myself.
Well, my first Zionist debate, the funny part was I posted some stuff on my Instagram and I got all this hate and all these reports. So I said, oh, we want to start talking shit. So I contacted Rabbi Israel Horowitz, like an Orthodox rabbi who's anti-Zionist, and I contacted Tudor Alexander, who's like a Christian scholar. And I brought them on so I can bring a Christian and then a Jew on, and we can talk about Zionism, since it's a plague for their religions. And it was like a 3-hour, 27-minute deep dive, right? Deep dive into that. It got fucking kicked off. I got my channel banned, and all.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Mine. But Rabbi Israel had his. It wasn't taken off of his. I'm like, hold on, that's racist. You let the
unequal treatment
on his.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
a 14th Amendment violation kind of thing. Yeah.
You know,
and when you're as ultra white as I am and an Odinist, you got to imagine the fucking shit that gets slung at me. Like,
yeah. I can imagine. But we need white people have bent the knee in America far too long. They need to start speaking the fuck up. There's no reason why, if you know, like,
white shame is the biggest weapon that's ever been.
I'm fucking white, obviously. Okay. But all you have to do is just look carefully or read my name. And I obviously don't, 9/11, I did it. It wasn't really in the year 2002. I wasn't really considered white American. Okay. So, I was on the fucking TSA watch list till 2006. I never even been to Afghanistan I didn't even have a passport. So when I fly domestically, I would be stopped, and like to Michigan, like it was like fucking crazy. I was like, it's a little wild, but my point is like white Americans need to fucking man the fuck up, put your shoulders back, and say whatever the fuck you think. Fuck all that shit. Are you kidding me? Like, I almost want to change my name to Scott for the next 6 months and just go have at it. Like, I can say whatever.
Dude, white guilt. The white guilt, that is the biggest weapon that's ever been used against us. It's fucking insane. Like, you're muted, brother. You're muted. Omar.
Yeah, how ironic.
Yeah.
Fucking Matrix. Germans and Nazi, we talk about a cult. Like, look, Nazism was an ideology, right? That infiltrated and penetrated the minds and the spirit of a people in the German nation for a certain amount of time. Okay. So that's a fucking perfect case study of influence al masse, good or bad. Doesn't make a difference. Influencing the masses. And Scott, Ted. Yeah, I don't think people would think I'm a Ted, though.
You got to grow the beard out, brother.
No, bro, the beard.
Marcus, that's my co-host and my partner, my fucking computer wizard, Marcus. He fucking we have a show called Uncle Ted Talks. That's like an anti-technology, and I live off grid, and we talk about more the way technology is taking over and what they're using it against us for.
That's a problem.
A serious problem.
And it's not about being like old. I think are we all 40?
I'm 50.
Okay. We're all okay. So we're the same generation.
I'm almost 50.
I'm the last.
I'm sorry, just for housekeeping, Ben, I'm here. I'm dealing with shit on the vertical stream that you can't see.
Thank you.
Someone's talking about
the vertical stream is
someone
fucking wild.
About you, bring them up here and I'll fucking slaughter them.
No, dude. The vertical stream is just trolls that say the wildest shit. Like, a lot of times it doesn't even have anything to do with anything we're talking about. There's one guy that comes in and spells the N-word, only he does it one letter at a time. Almost every fucking vertical stream like that happens. I'm like,
Does he show his face? Let him show his face.
No. They come pop into
that's
the
not the kind of.
Oh, he's a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, they're chat trolls.
Yeah.
What is the vertical?
You just ignore it.
I noticed
they bring up you up in the algorithm. So, and everybody just ignores the dumb shits. You know, I just ignore. Like,
what does the vertical stream mean?
They added a feature where most of the time you stream, it's like this. So, like people that like myself and my wife, we watch our show on a regular TV. So that's horizontal. And horizontal, it's like big screen. And then vertical is more tailored to your phone or
shorts, like shorts.
Yeah. So it's more so it's
for vertical. The TikTok brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. TikTok brain. Thank you.
So it's live for the TikTok brain.
Wow. Yeah. So they made it so you can stream to both. Now, interestingly enough, most of the time my horizontal stays fairly even. That's going to maybe fluctuate by 1,000 views or something like that. But it's usually nothing too crazy. I'm not going to get like nothing. I'm not going to get a crazy amount. The vertical fluctuates wildly.
You can get 250,000 views, no problem, in vertical.
What the fuck? Spicoli?
Spicoli came up? Oh, because you guys.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah. Right, so here's the thing, right? So there was an ideology which you could call a thought entity was formed above and throughout the German nation, which we could call Nazism, right? And then it disappeared, right? Okay, it happened. They repented. Okay, the fact that the German people are still walking on bended knee, nearly 100 years later, get fucking over it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Get over it. You have fucking repented. Just because someone else says, I still feel like a victim about something. Have you done anything recently? Have you not supported enough? Have you not paid? Have you not, et cetera, et cetera. And again, I'm not Jewish, so I can't say that, but I'm just using an example of like, when is enough? And the answer for some people is never. As long as you can continue to be a victim on something, will be never. And the white people are the ultimate fucking scapegoat.
Yeah, at that point it becomes the reverse oppression.
Yeah, and by the way, saying white. I mean, there are white Russian people. They've never even people in Russia. There's people in Russia never even seen a black person in their life. So a white Russian person moves to Brooklyn and they're supposed to bend a knee because of George Floyd because they moved to America a month ago. What do you mean by white? White what? Which white? So why is this white? Why is white this monolith? Most white people need to get back to their DNA, find out where the fuck they came from, and find some fucking pride by finding out, like, oh my God, I'm 32% German. I'm fucking 26% this. Like, find out who you are and fucking do some research on yourself.
Well, they mushed all of white. They mushed all of white culture together, and this actually only happens in like the bigger cities areas. Like, and actually it's funny because Omar and I were talking about this before the show. I'm from a very white ethnic area. And when you're from a very white area and where all the people that settled there are from a certain area, then you start seeing the differences in white culture. Like what we were talking about is because I'm very German and from a very German area, for us, like Oli and Lena is like a staple joke. It's Oli and Lena Sven. Like, and whenever you tell a joke about them, they're going to be absolute idiots. And it's always, and the joke's told with like the minute where you sound like you're from Minnesota, Oli and Sven, and it's the high German sing-songy, not the guttural German. And so for us, Polacks are the Oli and Lenas. They're the butt of the joke. Now, my wife, she's Danish. For the Danish, the Swedes are the butt of the joke. And like on the Oli and Lena. And like if you drive like the Swedish and Norwegian areas, they put like quilts on their barns. We don't do that in German. Like, we have different foods. Like Kuchen is one of my very favorite desserts of all time. But almost nobody, unless you're from a super German area, knows what Kuchen is.
What is it?
I have no idea.
Ben, we just got raided from Trippy.
Oh, Trippy, what's up, brother? We were just talking
That's
about you.
funny. I was just looking at live, and there was some guy speak easy, and I don't know what this was, but it was like, what are they talking about? And then I saw Trippy pop up, and it was this amazing battle where Trippy was basically like telling him he's like a fraud, and it seemed like they were trying to schedule a boxing match, and then they were calling each other pussies the whole time.
Speakeasy won't boxing. He won't. He just won't do it. I mean, Speakeasy's like basically the guy who cries really hard that he's a hard ass, but then when you actually set something up to do it, he won't, kind of thing. And then he's also I'm not trying to bring it up because necessarily
I don't know who he is. I just
to kind of give you the idea of his character. I hate doing this because I'm not trying to go after family and stuff, but
just say what people think. Say what you've heard. What people
the 16-18 thing, the 16-18 thing.
Yeah, the guy mentioned that.
Yeah, that part right there. And some people say that she was actually 15. Where here in the U.S., right, the age of consent is 18. Now I know that they have those quote unquote Romeo and Juliet laws, and I've had arguments with people about no, it's actually 18 according to the Fed. But in particular, he's from Canada, and in Canada, the law is 16, right? Whereas here in the U.S., it's 18. And even in most states, it's 18. So because of that, I look at him, and a lot of people look at him like he's a criminal.
Yeah. Look at him sideways.
Yeah, I look at him sideways. I absolutely do.
And I just wanted to say, Trippy, we were talking about you last night in the house here about your fire beep sound. It's fucking hilarious. But before, and actually I had seen Speakeasy's show years and years ago before I was involved with any of this. And before I thought about debating, because I came from the conspiracy world, and I wanted to make this transition where I could talk to normies and be understood, which is not easy when you're used to talking. Pretty good at this point, but it's taken me a couple of years. It was rough at the beginning. I sounded like my friend Steve, coming in and like, he's like, technocratic panopticon, lifeline, blood-sucking vampire PDF files, and you're like,
the decahedrons over the fucking Capitol, and
dude, he's got more information and he knows more about political maneuverings and world politics than anybody I've ever known. He is literal friends with people like John Kiriakou and anybody else that you could possibly imagine. He knows these people, but the dude is so deep in it when he talks, he forgets everybody else doesn't have that giant wealth of knowledge.
That's the tricky part.
Right. And this is what I had to start doing, is because I wanted to start bringing some of the understandings from occult and whatnot into, be able to have these conversations, and some of the things that they would label conspiracy, like where I point out, you can see 100% in the last 6 months, I've shifted Sarah's panel. Like the hard lefts and the hard rights, they won't fight like they did before, because I'm not for either side. I'm for the American motherfucking people. And the shit that these people are doing, if everybody knows, and there's actually been politicians that said this, if the American public knew the shit that we do, they would string us up. Well, let's talk about that shit then.
Yeah, let's talk about that part.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you have done that, because you've had this slightly bigger platform than obviously I have. I really kind of have almost nothing. So, I've been there in Sarah's channel, and I'm kind of in the same mindset as far as that goes. Left, right, I don't give a damn, right? And I've kind of been almost, there's been a few here and there, almost on my own, like in the same category of like, no guys, it's wrong on both sides. Both sides seem to have this wild ass idea that the other side did it and the other side's to blame. But it's literally the same guys that you are saying haven't done anything, and they have, and it's just too obvious. And every time that one side brings it up, they say, well, what about? It's the what ifs, right? Or the what aboutism. And it's like, yeah, but you're both doing it back and forth. You're both
Like last
going back
night.
and forth.
Exactly, Clay. That was
Yeah.
last night, nonstop. The whataboutism. And when I bring someone else up to point out, hey, this is what's coming out next.
Yes.
They're like, oh no, but then I'm like, I'm not bringing it up for that reason. I'm trying to say, that there's always both options on both sides. We are fucking men. We are in our 40s, and it's time to stand the fuck up and be men.
Exactly.
Stop arguing like children. Like
let's not do
Ixnay on the standing up A, okay?
Right,
what people have done,
physical standing up.
Yeah, what people have done before to essentially
sit up, I prefer.
Put your shoulders back is better. How about that?
We fall into that trap of, oh yeah, that's right, it was your side the whole time, and it's a trap. It's a complete trap.
Dude, we were born.
The two sides that are willing to be blind to their own side shit and then point out the other side, they hold up the whole system. None of us in the middle get any representation whatsoever. We're not even brought up in the conversation.
You know who the last independent was?
The last
president.
President?
Yeah. He built the highways. He built the interstate.
Oh, FDR.
Yeah. No, Eisenhower.
Eisenhower. Oh yeah,
Eisenhower. He was the last one. And now he was a bit of a war guy. You know, he's definitely a war guy.
Yeah.
That's why he built the interstate itself. But his policies focused around the American people, like on an independent scale. He wasn't really focused on, what this side or that side might have done for 10, 20 years ago. That was not his focus. That was not his goal. His goal was to build the society to, this higher standard. Like, you guys, we need to get to fucking work, kind of thing.
Yeah, but by the time you're 40, you've seen 10 elections. Most likely there have only been 5 to 6 different presidents, because most get reelected because in the time of war, most get reelected. We're always at fucking war. We've not been at war for like 28 years of our entire existence, right? Yeah. Those are like after World War I, after World War.
He's talking about fucking the entirety of the United States
history of our country. Yes.
We've all and during those periods, the thing that people don't want to realize, because I actually served during supposedly the biggest non-war period, and during the biggest non-war period, which was the Clinton administration, I have numerous war medals. Like, because we had the Mediterranean action, like everything started getting called actions instead of wars or things like that. So all my war medals came from during the time when it wasn't a war. Like even Desert Storm back then, because Desert Storm didn't go, I think, 90 days or something like that. It can, it's not a war because it didn't last 90 days.
Yep.
Or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, but the
incursion. That's a good one.
You have 10 elections, right? You have 10 elections. You most likely see 5 or 6 presidents. But when you're 0 to 10, you're a fucking child. And when you're 10 to 20, you're not caring about politics. So only half of the 40 years of life, which is 20, you're even potentially conscious of it, which means that's only 3 or 4 presidents. And by the time you start realizing what the fuck is going on, we're 40. We've seen both sides, right? And you're either one of two things. You either still think it's sides and you pick one, or in our era right now, I feel like us right now, we are the first people to stop and go, hold the fuck on real quick.
Yes.
What the fuck is going on with both of you people?
Yep.
And we are the ones, guys.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying.
We're like, wait a minute, what have gray? We're the only ones
fighting. Why are you fighting? Aren't you supposed to be like looking out for our best interest?
We're the only ones that can talk to a 10-year-old and tell an 80-year-old to shut the fuck up. Yeah. We're the only ones that in our 40s and 50s that can talk to everybody.
Dude, it's Gen X, but Gen X normally just didn't give a shit is our problem.
Right.
We didn't give a shit. The system abandoned us. We abandoned the system. We don't need you. You don't need us. Fuck yourself.
We were the first ones that fell for not only did we stop falling for the college thing, we broke the idea that you have to go to college to be successful. We showed them that we cannot go to college and be extremely successful all the way up to your Bill Gates and these other assholes, but all the way across. We are the ones that said, you know what, we're gonna cut lawns during high school and start our own company at 19. We're the ones that said.
You know what also is funny is that the same generation that gave us the 9 scariest words, that generation is the same one that had us relying on the government for all this time. The baby boomers. They are the ones who have us now relying. That's the crazy
100%. Part. Everything's about the stock market. You know why? They have stocks. They're the ones that have their whole wealth in stocks. You know why? You're going to kill someone's grandmother. You know why? They're the grandparents. It was get your vaccine.
They're the top of the pyramid in the pyramid scheme that the fucking everything that Roosevelt set up is a pyramid scheme.
Yes.
That this is part of why we're so concerned about the replacement of kids, the replacement number.
Yes.
Because what the only thing in the world that replacement number represents is how many kids we need putting into the system to keep the pyramid building.
Yeah.
And so
Social Security, all that bullshit.
They're the top of the pyramid. They were the first beneficiaries. Yeah. And most of those systems are going to be broken by the time we're supposed to collect.
I like the pyramid example because the pyramid's a great, perfect example, but I'll give you another one, and it comes from the scripture. Remember the statue in Daniel? The one with the gold on top, and then it was bronze, and at the very bottom, it's clay, right?
Yep.
And that clay gets hit with the rock, and then the whole thing crumbles. It's literally that to me. So and I know that that's not the actual representation of what that was supposed to be, but that actually is a really good representation, in my opinion, of that pyramid scheme getting crushed by the simple basics of life, right? That, like, I don't know, having kids. So you can't sustain this pyramid scheme, like Balderson said, because guess what? At some point, people are not going to have those children and then put them into that system that you designed. You know, they're just basically going to opt out, either that or they're just not even going to be part of it at all.
That's why they want so many illegal immigrants to come in, give them a Social Security card and print money.
That's right.
Right. Well, and we're not replacing fast enough. A pyramid by nature, it's shaped like this. The next layer needs to be slightly bigger than the whole thing up here. So you need to have more and more and more. It's very cancerous.
And it's
because of that system that this is something we need to do.
Lord Balderson, I have a question for you. Maybe we should ask the panel what occultic subjects they want us to talk about, and then that will spark it. Or any subjects. Occult means hidden. So what we're talking about is
I got my buddy Chris coming in here in a minute, and we'll occult it down. I wanted to talk about
this is all occult.
You brought up the because this is actually ties to politics, so it can keep both sides interested. So I have for a long time been working on this thing where it's somewhere in the mid 1800s to late 1800s, a cult really became a cult. And this is the time period, and the biggest culprits of this is the Theosophical Society and Blavatsky and them, and then all the derivatives from that. And people don't realize how much in the modern world, including in our politics and our culture, is deriving out of that system, because Blavatsky handed it down to
Alice Bailey, and Bailey
was at the time the head of the Lucifer Trust.
The Lucifer
head of the Lucifer Trust. Thank you, Shaman. I'm glad you had it. The head of the Lucifer Trust. Well, they changed the name to the Lucius Trust, and then they became the spiritual.
That was the first international non-governmental organization recognized by the United Nations, by the way, the Lucifer
and they became the spiritual head of the United Nations.
Yes.
So
they were called the Lucifer Trust, which was recognized by the United Nations. Then they changed their name to the Lucius Trust, which is also similar to the Lucifer program of the Vatican.
Yeah. Which they actually had a wing in the Catholic Church, of the Theosophical Society wing in the Catholic Church in and of itself. So all the feminism derives from that. The out of Africa theory derives from that. as far as a cult goes, this is where what I call, and it drives me nuts. I call them the Dr. Seuss occultists, where they're like, this word sounds like that word. It means the same thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
yeah, yeah, they go a little far. You know who does that a lot? Who has a lot of good content? The black dude in Costa Rica, Sivan. Everything, Sivan Bowman got a lot of great information, but he'll use the etymology in English as if has anything to do with the actual meaning of the subject matter. Like it has nothing to do with it. Like etymology is of the utmost importance. That's part of where I get my understanding of the Abrahamic faiths.
It's good to be aware of, but when you start
course.
turning it into what I call Dr. Seuss, you know, and where that derives from is Gottfried Higgins. He wrote a book called Anacalypsis. It's absolute hot trash. It was completely rejected by the occultists of the time. And his grandson found 400 copies of this book that absolutely nobody bought, and fucking like resurrected it during the time of mass printing. And Blavatsky, who I would liken to these girls that go out and become a Reiki master in a weekend and then go do something else the next weekend, because they're rich kids that, you know, their parents are paying for them to just go around and get fucked up and do spiritual things. Blavatsky was that era of that, and she thought that Higgins was brilliant. And this is where you've seen actual lab alchemy get taken out of the picture and put to the back burner, and suddenly everything became the Jungian spiritual alchemy, which doesn't at all match actual lab alchemy at this point, because they used to have to match the as above, so below. The philosophical had to match the physical.
Absolutely. Yeah. What was his name? Phineas Quimby was the guy who coined the subject. Let me see here if this works. The guy who first named the New Thought movement in the 1830s. So from the 1830s still going is the New Thought movement. And yeah, Blavatsky was the #1 occultist writer, I would say collectively, that had the biggest influence. But you had a lot of these secret societies and so on. But what people fail to understand is the Kabbalistic influence of the entire movement, whether it's Manly it's every single one of them had a Kabbalistic influence.
You got to add Elias Levi into this when you're doing that, having that part of the talk.
100%. And most of these people, by the way, are most of these. Let me see if this is my thing's charging. The ironies of getting, as soon as I start going into the occult and stuff like this, fucking Matrix will start breaking down. There we go.
Dude, I am so technology breaks for me constantly,
nonstop. So you have all these people, like all these like, and they're British. They always try to make them like Aleister Crowley and John Dee, and they always try to make them into these mystical figures. Meanwhile, they were just like decrepit, deranged, child predators who were just like amped up on drugs, learned a little bit of this, learned a little bit of that, and fooled people on a local level. And the ones that went big, generally speaking, were members of MI6 and different
most people think John Dee was 007. He's that.
Hey guys, sorry I joined a little bit late, but what are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about a cult now, brother, and how it affects today's world and politics, like in things like we see out of Africa and feminism. Chris Minor is coming on. Now John Dee was fucking absolutely brilliant, though. That dude knew his shit.
Sure. Here's the thing. One could argue that
we're talking about John Dee and the Emerald Tablets. Is that what we're talking about?
No.
No. The Emerald Tablets was not John.
What do you think about that? What do you think about the Emerald Tablets?
You should read it.
The Emerald. The
Well,
Emerald Alchemy tablets. Do you think they actually exist?
nobody's ever seen them.
No, it's true.
And the version that we have is suspiciously channeled. And the thing is there's too much of the occult in there that got channeled that doesn't match much else. Now, the Emerald tablets are interesting, and I find some parts of it very interesting. But at the end of the day, they've never actually been seen. It's a legend. They've never been found, and nobody really knows what it says. Somebody supposedly channeled that.
I think it's really funny too, because John D. He couldn't even prove that he had so much went to fucking Egypt, and he couldn't even point to where Atlantis was on the map. But yeah, he was like claiming that he got them directly out of either Egypt or Atlantis.
Sure. Look, Aleister Crowley had his boy lover go with him to Egypt and allegedly
Honey, can you put gas in the generator before you go to bed?
Did a ritual to bring in a demon from the Necronomicon, and then his boy lover never came back, and then allegedly had secret magical powers. Meanwhile, he's like sticking things up his ass and taking drugs. Like please. Like it has no actual fucking power other than the belief that the neophyte has. Neophyte is a terminology for a non-initiated, right? A neophyte would be like a civilian, right. A civilian, right? And so it's easy to fool the civilians with sleight of hand. There's always been snake oil salesmen. There's always been bullshit magician artists and frauds, right? And the majority of the people were looking and seeking and looking and seeking and looking and seeking. But as far as like the Emerald tablets, as they call it, or as published, the 7 hermetic principles have always been known. It's never been missing. They were the 7 laws of thought that became the 7 hermetic principles, because Hermes was the Greek version of the Egyptian god Thoth. The Sumerians had a wisdom, and these 7 hermetic principles are fundamental understandings of how things work, both in the metaphysical as well as on earth. And when you look at it, actually, when you fast forward to famous psychologists, then when you understand the 7 hermetic principles and frame it to someone like what's the guy who in the 1760s he created thesis versus antithesis equals synthesis. He's a psychologist and philosopher.
Hold on, say that again, and I'll search it.
Hey, no, search it, but I got it. His name is George Friedrich Wilhelm Hegel, Hegel. He's in the 1760s, and so he had a lot to offer. I'm not trying. He's quite wise, but the takeaway today of his whole philosophy was called Hegelian dialectic, which basically was the premise of the human brain has 2 hemispheres, and everything is in this 3rd dimensional reality is in a duality. So therefore, thesis versus antithesis equals synthesis. So applied to a friend in this reality, say, hey, you're on a first date. Are you hungry? Yeah, me too. Would you like Chinese or Italian? It doesn't matter which one they choose. It's the illusion of free will. And by giving them an alternative choice, that makes them think that they made the decision. But you're the one that created the alternative choice. And this is called Hegelian dialectic. Now, it's used in our modern day psychology. That's why we have Pepsi, Coke, Republican, Democrat, Uber, Lyft, because we are predisposed to accept 2s in the dualities, right?
Well, and then also the other piece of it is problem, reaction, solution. So
and that's
so they create.
I think
but that came from the
Jesuit.
name.
Sorry. I just wanted to get you that name because you couldn't think of it. Johann Gottlieb Fichte.
Hegel.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, yeah. But in English, it's George Friedrich Wilhelm Hegel is the English. The German, I'm not. I'm actually really bad at pronouncing German names. Like we're gonna get into the
same. I was so trying hard not to butcher that.
Some of these, the Thule Society. Is it Tool? Is it Thule? I still say Thule Society.
Most of the people I know, they call it Thule.
Yeah, I again, all the German stuff. Like I'm aware
about the Rosicrucians, dude. So I know a guy, and he wrote Occult Germany and shit. He got access to those letters from the Rosicrucians
too,
and to the original letters that they're founded on from Fraulein Spranger.
Yeah,
and he said the problem was, as he's reading them, he expected it to have been a man that signed the bottom of it, because unlike the English language, German still is feminized, has feminine and masculine words. And verbs, if a man's saying it, if I was to say I'm going swimming, swimming would be different than if my wife said I'm going swimming. The verbs have a masculine and feminine. He said all the verbs were in masculine. And so when right, so this shit's a forgery from somebody who's not even an original German, and fucking they wrote, and they knew how to, they were taught how to do read German and write in German, but they didn't understand it finely enough to understand the masculine and feminine verbs.
Yeah.
And so when it was signed by the girl's name, he's like, this is a fucking forgery.
Hey. You're talking about the letters of, like the alchemical marriage of Christian Rosencreuz, like those. Christian,
no,
the
to get their recognition in the high occult societies, they had to have letters, because back then, if you were vouched for by a German occultist, nobody took you seriously.
Well, there's a very good reason for that. Because,
hey, Shaman, would you care if I sidetracked a little bit?
No, not
Yes,
at all.
I would.
Okay, but it's not my show.
Yes, I would. This is what we were talking about, Toasty.
Tonight we refer to Balderson as Lord Balderson because we are inside of his great hall.
Okay, well, I was actually sorry, Baldy. I wasn't like trying to be rude or anything. I just, while I've got Shaman here, I just kind of wanted to ask him what he thought about Brian Shapiro.
What the fuck's that got to do with the cult?
I can give a quick answer.
Nothing. That's why I said is it okay if I sidetrack just a little bit?
That's why I said no. We'd already done the politics thing for a minute. The whole show is named Occult.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Baldy.
Not Brian Shapiro, ultra leftist.
I respect anyone who will go in and have a conversation and actually let someone else finish their sentence, which he did more than he didn't do. So that I have great respect for. And by the way, he calls himself independent. I mean, it seems like a full-blown leftist Democrat to me. But maybe I'm fucking confused on that. But you're either in the center is America first, and America period right now, in my opinion. And anything outside of that, I'm suspect on. So, the idea of, and he was, by the way, he was very big on Trump. Like when Spin called him out on the TDR, TDS.
Yeah, you got it right.
TDS.
Yeah. And then he was saying Trump fellatio. I was like, okay, so if then the other side's tossing his salad if you're thinking that, because you can't even have a conversation without pointing out Trump. But he did say Trump is currently the president, and if Trump is out of the office and I'm still talking about him, it's like, well, everyone was talking about him during Biden's. What about Trump? I mean, I don't remember the Trumpism going away during Biden. So I don't know. I mean, he says he's good faith, and I mean, he came on to something into hostile territory, and that's things that Ben Shapiro and a lot of others won't do. So that I do respect.
Yeah, no, he seems like a decent guy. Now, here's the thing, Toasty. The part of the reason that most of you guys have such a hard time with political understandings is because you don't understand a cult. And that's where all this is deriving from.
And that's where I was, Balderson, that's where I was pinning it to. So when you talk about, thank you, Balderson. So if you look at something like the 7 Hermetic Principles, which would be called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth or the Emerald Tablets of Hermes, right? These Hermetic Principles. And when you fast forward and understand that all of these philosophers since the 1800s have all been occultists studying the esoteric. And so they form their understanding of a new philosophy applied to theology or existence itself, ontology, epistemology. It's based off of their understanding of their brain expanding by understanding the occult and the esoteric of the ancient wisdom of the wisest people in the lands since the beginning of known history. So when you see someone like Hegel create Hegelian dialectic, he didn't know that it was going to be misused. But Einstein didn't know that the bomb would be the bomb somehow, because Hegelian dialectic is the foundation of the alternative choice, the illusion of choice that we, the people, the sheep, have been given in the last at least 100 years, but even before that, definitely since the 1900s. And so, when you say carrots and sticks, we've all heard that in political, like carrots and sticks. We offer them carrots and we offer them sticks. It's the false illusion of that. They don't have to pick anything. They don't have to engage. Pick this, carrots or sticks. Carrots meaning we're going to give you money, and sticks meaning we're going to bomb you. It's the illusion of having to make a choice is the thing that we all fall for. Yeah. And these psychology,
it's capitalism versus socialism.
So like, what are you trying to say? Like,
yes.
NFC, AFC, etc.
Yeah. College football.
It's excluded middle, but everything in between either is or isn't is an illusion. Is that what you're getting at?
Not necessarily. It's a way for. So there's a terminology in Latin called influence al masse. It's the influence of the masses, right? And so when you say words, you spell a word. Like, how do you spell words, right? And so abracadabra, right? So you get one person who's able to take it's commonly understood that Hitler didn't write his own speeches, and many people say Hitler didn't write Mein Kampf. So he became injected into a system of an idea that had an ideology behind it, and he was similar to how people are saying Trump may have been a plant the whole time, whether they know it or not.
Well, that's why it was called the Third Reich, because it was already an ideology.
The third, and what the Fourth Reich is?
Right.
Hitler was the general for the Third Reich. Okay, and the Fourth Reich was the Reich that was going to last 1,000 years.
Yeah,
and
we're the Fourth Reich. It's whoever possesses the spear of destiny, supposedly.
We have a big problem on our hands, guys, and it's
so you're saying essentially that Hegel let the cat out of the bag, and people have been using it improperly because there are choices in life that are almost opposite, or at least almost opposite.
What we're talking about here is how to lead the sheep.
Think about
and the problem in our country is at one point in time, the founding fathers understood that most people aren't worthy of voting.
Look, they really are. You go. I can break it down and reduce it to the ridiculous. Look, you buy a car. They say, "Would you like this in red or black?" They say, are you financing or paying in cash? Would you like to take delivery Tuesday or Thursday? Would you like to put 10% or 20% down? These are alternative choices that you end up picking one, but you don't realize that they're dog walking you to their destiny. They're taking you.
Okay, I think I kind of see what you're saying, Sean.
Yeah, so it's applied on all levels.
And the funny thing about the political level is they actually want certain people in because at certain times, because they know like that certain laws, if only a Republican can do it. If a Democrat did it, they would fight tooth and nail, and vice versa. So depending on what the people that are in charge want to see happen, they will decide, well, this time we need a Republican in.
Yeah. In order to perpetuate their material system.
Yeah. Applied in war. You have Iran, Iraq. You have two Shia countries, right? And you finance both sides, right? Thesis and antithesis equals synthesis. Finance both sides, have them fight a war, pull the funding off one. Now you have a synthesis. Then you draw a line in the middle, and then you put, Saddam Hussein, which is a Sunni, in charge of the Shia, make them ideologically different. Look at Russia and Ukraine right now. It's Hegelian dialectic. And by the way, then you have the communist version of it, which would be, what's his name? Who the communist philosopher was?
Marx.
Solid. Karl Marx.
Yeah,
Karl Marx.
Had lots of philosophical.
I was just looking at that. I was literally just looking at that because as you guys were talking, I was going down my thread as I do sometimes, and I was going through Jung, right? Marx was one of the people, right? And when you said Hegel, it's like, okay, at that point I put that in, and now it's connecting all of that in the thread. It's literally connecting all of that. based upon the Hegelian dialect.
I have to ask a question.
Trotsky took Marxism and he implemented it deeper into the communist idea. That's why Lenin had Trotsky. Without Trotsky, Lenin would have never been able to make Marxism stick. He needed a new philosopher of the time.
See, I have to make a comment about something. I have seen Hitler and his loyal comrades be sometimes referred to cult-like behavior.
Well, the
Yeah.
SS, yeah,
I didn't hear you, Ben.
not the army in general didn't have that problem so much, but the SS 100%. The hit.
But Hitler didn't. But Hitler didn't write the Mein Kampf, though.
No,
Where
but it
does
doesn't
that
matter.
claim come from? That's the first time I've ever heard that one.
Well, because
Really?
it's actually quite no. The Mein Kampf, Hitler.
I knew I was going to fuck that word up, but I
Mein
couldn't
Kampf,
remember.
my struggle. So
Yes.
so when he puts out a book, My Struggle, he has a very powerful story from World War I, right? If you're familiar with it, he was like one of the only people to live from a direct mustard gas bombing of his entire unit. He was like one of the only, like, 2 people lived on this mustard gas bombing, and of course they say that's why he was crazy and so on, right? But everything was organized ahead of time with him. Now you can look, and also, by the way, the beautiful thing of Hegelian dialectic is the thesis versus antithesis. If you don't understand both sides of something, you don't understand it fully. So, for example, the story of the Garden of Eden. If you understand the biblical version, you have to also understand the Luciferian explanation to understand the entirety of understanding of a subject. Not saying you believe in one or the other. So I can explain the Hitler story this way, which is 99.9% of the world, and I can explain it this way, which is 99.9%, the pro-German nation way. So I'm not saying that I give a fuck either way. I'm not German. But you have to understand the entire story, or you're part of the system. You have to step away and you have to learn. That's why I'm happy we're having these conversations. Like, you always find a dark sorcerer next to the political guy. Always.
Right.
Oh,
You've always got
that's like given. If you're even born in America, man, or anywhere.
Who's Trump's right now? I can tell you.
Jared Kushner.
That's the second degree handler. The number 1 degree handler is Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller.
Believe it or not.
Well, that I have seen that multiple times. Yes, Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller is
the lawyer,
ideology creator, and before that, he had Roy Cohn. Cohn, which that guy was a gangster. And he.
Well, I mean, I think all of us can agree that a lot of the political game is or was at one time, not very too far long ago, tied to mafioso or mob ties, et cetera, because a lot of campaigns were funded by
JFK,
the mob.
JFK.
Well, like I said, I mean, I'm going back into history and I'm coming back to today, right?
Sure.
And I would be remiss to say that even today's campaigns, some way, somehow wrapped up into a nice little bow, is still funded in part by the mob or something like that.
But the mob. But you know who ultimately ran the mob's money?
I could take a uneducated guess, but go ahead. Who?
you see the
oh well, yeah. Well, I listen.
That's not even a mystery. That's called that's called obvious. Look at this.
I Shaman, I'll put it this way. I was going to say the same exact thing
without saying,
but I was not going to allude to what I was going to say. How's that?
I'll say it. Don't worry. I'm just not saying because I'm on his channel and I don't want
that's same with me.
Say it. I am the worst possible disaster for these people. I'm an Afghan American, dude. We don't give a fuck.
So now that I
all the people that you mentioned, Clay, these are where I come back to the late 1800s, and you got for us, we have to add in Elias Levi.
Yeah,
well,
of course.
This is where in the occult world, previous to that, if you were going to be an occultist, bare minimum you had to be an alchemist. Almost like a UFC fighter, where bare minimum you have to know jujitsu, or else you can't fight in the UFC. Basically, it's like that is the groundwork for everything that comes after it in the occult. They made that separation in that, and so everybody picked up Jung in Jungian philosophy and they call it spiritual alchemy. But Jung was not an alchemist. What happened is, and you can read this from Jung's Red Book, he had this vision of the progression of the public zeitgeist as a thought sphere, and he couldn't find any way to like explain it. And so he was looking through an old alchemy book, and some of the pictures in the alchemy book matched the way he was seeing things in his head. And he read briefly some alchemy stuff, and then basically took like a very, somebody that's never really done what they're reading about, and kind of made it morphed it into his philosophy.
He wrote papers.
Right.
He wrote papers. He was a German. He wrote papers on the subject. He was pulling old Germanic Norse. He was very technical with his like research, but had no direct experiences. When he's saying alchemist, he's not saying someone who read something like Manly P. Hall. He's saying a practitioner.
Like myself, I own a lab.
A doctor.
And what's that?
I said a doctor.
Yeah.
A psychologist. Yeah. A psychologist. All of a sudden now we got a psychologist. Yes.
I'm an organic chemist and own a lab. So when I talk about alchemy, my alchemy is direct lab alchemy, and everything I can talk about happens in the lab. And I can
this is why when you go in, or when college students go in for like trials, they call it testing trials, because you are now the lab rat.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And that's dangerous, and that's actually dangerous in itself as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know, and I've heard stories in when I was indoctrinated, of people going in for trials, and trials worked, and they come out a cyborg, right? I mean, let's just be honest. And we in emergency medicine, we run into shit like that, where maybe a trial went wrong, stuff like that. I know what you're saying, Ben. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the alchemy and chemistry get misconstrued also, because chemistry can just be inanimate chemicals, whereas the alchemy has a natural essence base. Something is alive.
It takes the life, the unseen, unweighed components get taken into account. The life of something gets taken into account. And through this twisting also, and this is a big one in today's world, and so with all the trans stuff, what they did was because they aren't using actual lab alchemy, they've now perverted it into a hermaphroditic thing. So they've made Mercury hermaphroditic, and then the great work becoming this neutered hermaphroditic being, rather than understanding. And here's like, as a lab alchemist, I break apart a plant into its component pieces, and the things that are the truest parts of the plant that don't belong to the earth, I bring back together. And so in that process, when I split it apart, and here's the thing, again, this is why you got to have such a grip on a cult. You understand that in the very beginning of everything, you had the all splits into an all mother and an all father, which is the immaterial or void in the material. And those two just
real quick in the Hermetic principles, this is called the principle of gender, which is everything has a masculine and a feminine, and also the principle of polarities, which would be two polar opposites that coexist in equal. Go ahead.
Right. And unfortunately, there's no life in that interplay. So then the all father splits into a masculine and a feminine. And those two things are polarized against each other, like Omar was just explaining. And they're polarized against each other. And then the feminine pulls those two polarized sides together. And where they collide, this is where life happens. And so as when you carry that over to alchemy, when I take apart the component pieces of the plant, the high masculine we call sulfur, the low masculine we call salt, and the mercury in the middle would be the this world's version of Gununga Gap, because we live in a material world. And I'm getting wicked feedback somewhere.
And I'm a material girl.
Yeah. The
chemistry. So, and you can't do chemistry on yourself. They're trying to do chemistry on you. But inner chemistry is what inner alchemy means. Alchemy on yourself is doing your own chemistry. Go ahead, Belderson.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail that conversation, Ben.
I think we're flowing amazing.
I think we're fine.
We're flowing phenomenal. And this
no, I'm not done. You cannot. And so when you take the great work, what the great work does is through the feminine or Gununga Gap or mercury, you pull the sulfur and the salt back together, and the sulfur imbues into the salt. And in a lab setting, this is part of why mercury is the messenger or the communicator or the transactions, because this all has to happen in the liquid mercury area. The salt gets opened up, and then the sulfur imbues into the salt. And so the masculine is now healed. And then with that, it coagulates with the mercury, and this is where the alchemical marriage happens. Now, when I do that to a masculine plant, the end result is more masculine. When I do it to a feminine plant, the end result is still feminine. You did, just because you took these components and married them together in a perfection, and that you have a masculine and feminine aspect, that doesn't mean you aren't masculine or feminine, or ascending means that you have become a hermaphroditic being or genderless. And all these ideas are being pushed falsely into the current zeitgeist and into the political spheres. This is part of why we have transgenderism and things like that so heavily.
Yeah, and to add to that, when you understand these things, and don't keep thinking masculine and feminine as in men and women. We're talking about like the phallus and the vesica and the Pisces, right? We're talking about the opposites, the principle of polarities, the triangulation of existence, and to take things from the ether and to take two polar opposites, magnets, for example, to bring them together. You can feel that force. As you bring two magnets together, you can start feeling the force. In the center of that force is where things can be created. So, for example, what he was just talking about, if you go all the way back to the Egyptians, all the way back, it looks like they're wearing gold, but they're not. The gold was dipped. They were using brass, which brass is a metal that's used when you combine copper and tin. Masculine and feminine metals combined to make a singular one. Then that was dipped in gold. Then they were utilizing that. Brass is a perfect example of the alchemical principles combined into the metals for real life usage. And then I'm sure, and I'm sure Balderson will go deeper on that, but you can see the connectivity, how much more available it is for balance, etc.
So okay. Now you see, I see the connection there, the film versus the mask, whatever. So you've got these supposed opposites, which there are real opposites, or not necessarily opposites. They're just two ends of the same spectrum. Now, within that, from what I can tell, the way that you're describing it, it still requires an external force, or no? Because if you're connecting, then you actually have to connect the magnets or the two, and then you work that together, and then you yourself go in and continue the cultivation of it.
Yes, and like as an Odinist, Odin went through that process, and Odin was copying the All Father, which we can't understand the All Father because we're part of the All Father. We can't,
which would
really
be God, which would be the
right,
highest
which would be
God,
like
and,
what
the
we would call
highest power.
God,
and that's the
and
force
we're
we're asking about.
and
That's
even Odin was part of that original All in All Father. He's still derivative. So Odin's the closest thing that I can understand that went through that process in order to become a greater being, because Odin went through a process. And I follow that process. This is why I'm an Odinist, because I would never become Odin. I would never become God, but I can become more than what I am and become something greater through this same process. And so I follow him as like
Everything you do has an effect on the real world.
yes.
But you can bring that to Christianity, because you can bring exactly what you just said, you can bring it to Christianity, and it works because when he says the All Father, it's a complete unseen, unmanifest potentiality of existence and eternal source of eternal ... That's the All Father, but that's also God the Father. That's the Father, right? Jesus would be the alchemical materialization of what if a person were to do the great work and to alchemically create themselves. This would be an anointed one. You would anoint yourself, right? So Jesus was the Christ, the Christos, right? Now you would think he was born that way. One could say he would become that way. It's not about. That's not about. It doesn't make a difference with what I'm trying to say.
Either way,
the conduit would be the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
Right. And so there you have. And so the Greeks, for example, everyone talks about Greek gods and Zeus and Athena. No, dude, they never thought they actually existed. They were just symbolisms. So you can tell it in a personification that you can say, my God is a personal God. That's all they were doing, because those Greek gods were created by the Titans, who were personal, impersonal gods, but they were created by the primordials. And the primordials have no force, material. There is no materia. They are essences, of which all.
But it all tracks back to the same idea, which is that there is only one All Father, Creator, the one that everything came from, that everything materialized, or even if it's immaterial, came from.
And according to them, the reason why
the all is both the immaterial and the immaterial.
Yes.
So that was the all, and then the immaterial becomes the all mother, which, while it's not part of the material, it's what actually gives life to the material.
That's how you create. Exactly. That's why that's how you create, because, for example,
she's the spark. She's the magic, bro. She's the spark, that thing that you can't see or touch, but it's animating you.
And we're not talking about
life. It's life and death. This is why in most mythologies, the masculine side it's two different people, but the feminine side, she has two different names because she has two different jobs. She's the life giver and the life taker.
This is why the Virgin Mary is the Virgin Mary. That's why she remained the Virgin Mary forever, right? They're saying that this womb, unlimited potentiality in the womb of this mother named Mary, and in the womb of the God the Mother, eternally, the cosmos can be created within, right? And so the only problem is they've just taken this understanding only to a singular side. Everything became phalluses and masculine only. But even in Judaism, the word of Asherah, being God's Yahweh's wife, is there in the Bible. And every Friday they're praying that which they call Hashem. Every Friday they're praying for God to meet his Shabbos wife, which they now call the Shekhinah. And the Shekhinah is the exact concept of the Holy Spirit, which you know probably as Ruach. The Ruach is the essence or the spirit, which the Holy Spirit is a personification, an application personified to connect to Jesus. But the Ruach has no masculine, no feminine. But the Shekhinah is a feminine. So it's like they're now telling you there's God the Mother, and the only way you can have Shabbat is to have this unification. But then the next day they're saying it's not there.
Now in the story and in the ideology, the city is the bride.
No, in the song they pray, in the prayer. Shalom Aleichem. The song is singing, inviting the Shabbos queen, they call her, which is God's bride, to come and bless, because they're going to get together anyway, because it's Shabbos. God rested with what? What did he do when he rested? Unified with his wife. And they're praying that you get blessed by that every Friday.
Well, I'm referring to the bride of Christ.
Oh, no, I was referring to Jews every Friday in Shabbat.
Okay. So,
Every
but
Friday
yeah,
night.
but for Christianity, the bride would be the city.
I don't know.
No, the bride would be the church.
The city of
The people.
The bride is the church. Yeah. But was
The
Jerusalem?
New Jerusalem.
New Jerusalem.
That's a newer that's a later.
That's Revelation.
Yeah.
How much do you know about Revelation?
I mean, it's impressive. How much do you know about the prophecies of Saint Malachi? That's
Malachi. Oh yeah.
that's some serious shit.
I've
the
read
Pope,
it. It's been a minute.
popes.
I have to go back
100,
over it.
116 popes prophecies written hundreds of years ago. The last one's Peter the Roman in the end.
Well, is that something else? Because
Saint
I know
Malachi.
Malachi.
Saint Malachi.
Saint Malachi. Yeah, no,
Saint
I
Malachi.
I really kind of stick to the 66, and I know that other people tell me a lot about the other books, but I just kind of stick to the.
No. This is not that. This is a man from Ireland who was a priest, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but everyone got sick, and his wife and his child died. Unfortunately, he got real sick, but he lived, and he had a vision, and he wrote it down. It's called the Prophecies of Saint Malachi, and he wrote down 116 popes from 1126 to now, and he wrote down the names and a sentence or two about them.
I was about ready to say the names. I know what you're going to say.
The guy is on point, dude.
The names fit the bill. Without any other intelligible words, because
100%. This is not some Nostradamus bullshit. We have his writing, and the man saw. Okay,
Clay, he is dead spot the fuck on.
The man saw, and the question always was, and I found out about this in like 4th grade, dude, and I was like just waiting, but the question was, did he write about the first pope while he was alive, or did he write about the next one? That's what no one knew. And so when that German Nazi youth, right, Heinzinger, became the pope, I looked at his face like, oh, this motherfucker is Peter the Roman, who's the last pope. But he wasn't. But ironically, he was the first pope ever. This is going to get us back into the occult shit about this, and watch this segue. He was the second pope ever to resign, and he stepped out of the way. And then we had the first ever. Then we have the first ever Jesuit pope. Now, here's an interesting thing about the Jesuits. They were created by the Roman Catholic Church. According to the Catholic Church, there's like 4 things you have to be or not be to become a pope. The first one is you have to be a Catholic, right? Second one is you have to be a man. They check your balls, right? To make sure you have a dick and a balls, right? And then the third one is you have to be like a minimum of like an archbishop. And the fourth one is you're not allowed to be a Jesuit, right? You're not allowed to be a Jesuit.
I've never heard that one before.
Look into it. That's why for the first time ever, the black
was
pope,
the very first one.
The black pope, who's the Jesuit pope, the supreme general of the church, the Society of Jesus, became the pope. So I was like, fuck, this is Peter Romanus. And then he backed out the way. And then now we have the first ever American pope. Now I'm like, the new Rome. Now we have Peter Romanus, which is interesting. And it says he basically will be the pope during the trials and tribulations, and it's all over the end. Now, one way to look at it is it's the end of the Catholic Church. Like he'll be the last pope until the Catholic Church falls. And another one would be the going back to Revelations and the end times, right? That's another way to look at it, right? It's the end one way or another. But to roll that back in, now we're getting to serious occult shit, because the Jesuits were the occult of the occult. These are the Satanists within the Catholic Church, the evil of the evil. Last thing, Spin, I'm going to let you roll in because I saw you. Think of it like this. Let me name some people in history. Abraham Lincoln, right? Hitler.
Yeah, but Hitler wasn't Catholic.
Watch this. Napoleon. No, I know they're not. Abraham Lincoln, Hitler, Napoleon, right? These are 3 completely different characters. When all three of those people in those differentials of time period all agree that the Jesuits order is the most evil order on earth, you got to look into that.
Well, there was a point, and Shaman, you probably will point out exactly what I'm alluding to. There was a point in the Catholic Church where a man of color could not even become a father.
Yeah.
If you know where and they could not become an archbishop. They couldn't, they could be
like a cup holder. They had no,
altar boy, basically.
I remember there was a time until King Henry and then his grandson King James, where no one was allowed to even touch the Bible. It was read in Latin, and only Latin priests from Rome were allowed to touch it. They could sit up there in England and Ireland and Scotland and Spain and France, and they could just read whatever they wanted and tell you whatever the fuck they said. And it's coming directly from the Pope, and then it's coming directly from Jesus. And I'm
trying to think what age or what year of the Catholic Church, without looking it up. I used to know it.
Tell me.
The year that the tides changed, if you know what I mean, and I don't think it was very long ago.
No, they move with the time. They move with the time. I mean, they were. Remember, the First Crusade killed more Christians that didn't agree with the Roman Catholic Church than did anybody else.
Right. I mean, I'm aware.
They're
of
always when they couldn't suppress Protestantism. When King Henry basically, look, we got a couple history points in history.
I apologize.
No. If you're a Christian, you have a couple key points you have to decide. And this is why I like Clay. This is why I always give you credit as far as like the type of Christian you are. And my friend Tudor Alexander, he has a Dance of Life podcast. Like, the guy couldn't be more against. He thinks that the Jews and what we see in Zionism is just a puppet for the Catholic Church. Like, and he has hundreds of hours of videos on these things.
Yeah, and I could totally be along with that for sure.
His name is Tudor Alexander, the Dance of Life podcast. If you call yourself a Christian,
even just the land alone, right? So I've pointed this out. If you look at where Israel is, that strip of land, there's a reason why that strip of land is important, and I don't believe it's because it's holy land. I believe it's because it's a port. It's a simple port.
It's where all the genies appear. It's where all the genies of the Arabian deserts. It's where Aladdin's lamp is.
I'm looking at it from a materialistic point of view, right? The Mediterranean, right, is the way through to the rest of the world, to the Eastern world, right? Sure. And if you really see where Italy, Rome, right, that is right there, right? So that port to the rest, the eastern part of the world, all the spices come through there, all the oil for nowadays, it's oil, right? So it's a port. That strip of land materially is a very, very important piece of land, but then also Italy and Rome. Those two pieces together, if you can connect those two dots, you've got an empire. You own the world.
Why do you think every single great empire in the history of the world has tried to invade Afghanistan? Because it is a center of Central Asia.
Yeah.
You have to go through it to even get to Iran or to get to there. It's
and then you've got the two rivers that flow through there, right? Is it Euphrates and
Tigris and Euphrates?
Yeah, they flow through there, right? That's through the strait. You go through this, you go up this fucking rivers, and you've got land. You've got control of everything.
I was in Jordan, in the Jordan River with the Yazidis, who are the tribe of John the Baptist, getting baptized in the river where they've been baptizing since Jesus was baptized. You want to go talk about like the fucking go sit around these people. You can feel it, man. It's just like, it's like they don't care about none of this shit. They're there. You know what I mean? They're like, we're here. There's nothing to talk about. We're here, and they'll tell you why they left Israel. Remember, you have to understand or remember Israel as the country they're referring to, like we are Israel again. We've always been our country. You have to remember Israel as a country, which was Samaria and Judea, Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom, was only united in one kingdom for less than 80 years, 2,500 years ago. Some say 72, some say 80, some say 76. The point is, There's not a single scholar on the earth that will tell you Israel was a kingdom for 100 years. There's zero evidence they even made it 100 years then or now. Why? The same shit they're doing now, they were doing then. They were corrupt. They were battling each other. They didn't hold true to the covenant. They didn't keep God's canon. If they're making it, look, you can believe, like, let's say I don't believe that Yahweh is the creator of the universe. Okay, that's fine. There's certainly significant proof to show that the Elohim are the forces in control of this fucking earth. Okay, there's certain, Balderson, would you agree? There's certainly proof that there are spirits, most likely in the form of Elohim, in control of this bitch that we're in right now.
Something out there.
There's
Well,
something in
there's
control of this
something.
thing.
I don't think that see, I don't disagree with the Elohim. I don't disagree with I don't think that their God is the all.
No, of course not.
And so I think that's the first problem where we have.
Sorry, let me correct myself.
Where
Their name for the all is El. El is the All Father. They just let it go a while ago. Now they go Yahweh because Yahweh was just a single Elohim that became, they were Yahweh,
like the king of the Elohim.
Yeah,
and that was his group. And I agree with his group. I also agree that Odin and the Asir and the Vanir had a group also. And you can't convince me, like, scientifically, if I take bread and I go put it in a moist, dark area that's warm, mold is just going to pop up all over that bread. It's not going to go into one spot and then spread evenly across the entire thing. You can't convince me that that life didn't appear in multiple different spots on this place as soon as it was ready for life to be had.
This is where an occultist book called The Divine Pymander comes in. Have you heard right? The Divine Pymander is something you should either listen to on YouTube or read. It is unbelievable art. It is one of the best pieces ever written. Apparently this girl wrote it, like a 19-year-old girl wrote it, and it explains the concept of the demiurge and the archons, of how perfect creation went into, there was a false creation from creating without the divine union, and if you just track it from there, according to like Hebrew, like the Simsum, which is the constriction, you'll see what we have now. Like the archons can't create new; they can only replicate, right? And look what ChatGPT, it can't come up with its own idea. It can only draw from that which has already been spoken, written, and created on the internet. That is a fucking archon. That by definition, the ChatGPT technology we're creating is an archon. It can only replicate, and that's the concept of the creator of the demiurge, or the false creator or lesser god, and his archons of this dimension, according to the Gnostics, which you can agree or disagree with them. It's fine. I also believe that Abraham's Elohim, El Shaddai, is not Yahweh. How do we know? History. The Ugaritic text written at the time of Moses being alive specifically name these different Elohim as coexisting. So how can Yahweh be Elohim, El Shaddai, if Yahweh is like Zeus and the gods, and El Shaddai is a Titan? Yahweh was a lesser Elohim given a people without a land, according to the Ugaritic text. Ugarit is Syria, which is in Canaan. It's all Semites. They're all Semites. And so through war, you have, so I don't believe that Moses was talking to the same deed energy that Yahweh was talking, that Abraham was talking to. And that's why, how would Moses even know? First of all, Moses was raised in Egypt. He didn't even know he was fucking Hebrew, right? He just felt something, killed the guard who was misusing and hurting a Hebrew person, ran away, found a couple people from Moab, went, met the father who's a priest of Midian, told him, drink this, go up to the mountain, saw the burning bush, and the burning bush told him, oh, by the way, I'm the God of Abraham. He doesn't know who the fuck Abraham is. He doesn't even speak Hebrew. He's Egyptian. He's raised Egyptian. But let's just say explain.
Yeah, but he would be a descendant.
That's perfectly fine. But you're now a spirit in a bush is telling you, actually, I'm the God of Abraham, your descendant. But by the way, when you go back and talk to all the Hebrew people, because there's no such thing as a Jew yet, the Hebrew people, and they become Israelites later, tell them my name is Yahweh. But by the way, they're going to disagree with you because they know me as El Shaddai. But I lied to Abraham. I told him my name was El Shaddai at the time, which means Almighty One. But you tell him I really was that one. But now my name is Yahweh. And you all call me Yahweh, and you only can worship me. Isn't that a little suspect?
Did he give his name to?
Yeah, I am that I am, which Yahweh.
No, to Abraham.
Yes, 100%.
Be Abraham.
El Shaddai, 100%.
But what does El Shaddai mean?
The Almighty One.
But is that a name?
Yes, in Hebrew, El Shaddai. Let me see here. El Shaddai.
I mean, basically, he gave one name, but his real name is Bob. I mean, I mean, it's all. It sounds to me, and I could be wrong, and I'm not as educated you two are up there. It seems it was a what I would consider a conspiracy, or not conspiracy, be a deflection of who the real person really was.
Well, what it is
Being.
we as a human, we can't, because we've not put ourselves through the great work, we can't recognize the difference really between these higher beings, these etheric beings. And the whole beginning, the whole first 5 books is all orated from an angel who says, this is what happened. I'm God. Basically, I'm God's voice. Trust me, bro.
That's why now if we get into Jesus, here's the thing. So I'm not so sure of this, right? So this is not like I don't know, right? And I'm not convinced fully. But I'm almost lead to believe that I think that when Jesus was arguing with those Pharisees and Sadducees, it wasn't just the fact that he was arguing because they were in what would be called in Hebrew Erev Rav, which are called crypto.
I don't know what happened to Chris Howard.
Fake imposters. But I also think that he was arguing because I think he was arguing about who they thought God was and who God is of these lands. I feel like his connection to Abraham was significantly stronger than his talking about Moses. It's just a thought. I don't know, obviously.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I would give it a lot of thought.
Yeah, it's an important one.
Say that.
I'm just saying, you know, in theology, yeah, that's
because El Shaddai in Genesis 17:1, I am El Shaddai, walk before me and be blameless. And El Shaddai means God Almighty, but it really means the Almighty One, because El is the name for one, and El means God. So according to Hebrew reality, at that time of Moses, before Moses, there was El. El is the unmanifest. Remember my debate of when I said God versus no God? I'm arguing for the existence of God. I'm saying that a no God universe is illogical. I don't prove God. No, prove how it makes sense other than God. Did that, you know what I mean? Like prove to me that God doesn't exist.
I know what you're gonna say on that one.
Something that connects. But they had
the name.
This is the Hebrew story of creation, right? It's like this. Mm-hmm. Every Jew on earth, Torah, this is where they believe. There's El, God. We don't even know. We can't see, can't touch, no talk, no feeling, nothing. And somehow El decided to create here on this earth, right? And so it can't prove a negative. Yeah. So my statement would be a no God universe is illogical, inconceivable. So then there was a firmament, and so the firmament broke through, and what broke through was El Elyon, Elyon. So El Elyon is known as the commander, and so El Elyon broke through the firmament, and through the firmament was all the Elohim came through. Now it's exactly what the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh and what were they called? Coming in. And by the way, this is a very similar concept to of Thor and Loki coming from Asgard. One was good, one was bad. And this goes to the Nephilim and the flood. So all these stories have to do with these beings that created man. The literal terminology was come, let us make them in our image. That's the Hebrew. They agreed together to make man, right? That's the Hebrew.
Yeah, we're little homunculuses.
Every Jew will tell you they believe in other gods, but they have only one God, and that's Yahweh, because their covenant is with this singular Elohim. This singular Elohim, which they credit of giving them out of Egypt.
But if they are allowed, I'm sorry, I have one track mind. Sorry. If the Jews can believe in other gods, why does the Torah denounce, in so many words, denounce that there is other gods?
No, it says that there's a head one.
Yeah, I don't think the Bible explicitly denies the existence.
I might be misinterpreting it, but how I remember it.
Even the first commandment is do not worship other gods before me.
Yeah, that's
Exodus. Yeah, that says nothing about what comes after.
Exodus 20, verse 3. You will not put any other Elohim before me. Remember, we're talking Hebrew is Elohim. God's Elohim is the same word. Today they will say Elohim. Oh, we're talking about God. No. Hebrew word Elohim means gods, which are the Elohim, which in Christians, you guys have God and the angels. The Jews have Yahweh and Elohim, but they know that Yahweh was an Elohim, and they know that the highest word for God, ask any Jew, what's the highest word for God according to the Torah? It's El. Now, according to Jews, it's Yahweh, but we don't care what you say. You're off the market. You have the Talmud and you have all your fucking Kabbalists. You've gotten far away from the book, my friends. Get back to the Torah. That's why I like at least get back to the original.
What's up? What's going on?
We're a cult. We're having a cult 101.
It's probably needed. It's probably needed. That sounds like a good time.
As a matter of fact, in the Tanakh, you can hear all the prophets telling the Jews of the day, stop worshiping those other Elohim. Don't you know we can only worship one Elohim? They're either saying, and if you read it, it says, stop worshiping the other gods. We only have one God, Yahweh. Like they're telling you the existence. Baal is an Elohim, just like Dagon up north in Tyre, which is Lebanon. Yahweh, Baal, Asherah, they all have different Elohims. And by the way, the funny part is the name for God the Mother in the Sumerians, I was referring to the Anunnaki before, right? The Anunnaki story is the same thing of these Elohim creating man. One group of them decided to fuck them. They went back and reported it, and they decided to flood the whole place.
That might be the funniest fucking description I've ever heard, Omar.
It's Native American.
Oh my God, it's Native American Joe Rogan.
Who's that?
I think he's talking about you.
I think he's talking about you. You're Native American.
Yeah, I've timed him out. He said worse shit than that, but he is referring to you, Shaman.
Is that bad?
Dude, nobody's taking me as a Native American.
That'd be kind of funny.
Shaman, do you think
I'm like as white as Clay down here, who thinks that he comes from sand people?
Clay looks kind of Native American to me.
Damn. Like,
I don't think I come from sand people.
What's
I
sand
think
people?
we all come. Well, it's not that I think. I believe that we all come from the same fucking guy, one guy, and that's not sand people. It's one person. It's not like I came from a sand people, or I came from a white person, or I came from a black person, or I came from an Oriental. Like we all came from the same exact.
We can't say what we truly want to say. We can just say sand people. Put it that way.
But see, this is where the
Mediterranean
happens, because you guys, you're what you claim is the God of Abraham is not the all, nor is he even the all Father.
Never was it in Hebrew ever. Exactly. Elohim, El Shaddai was a singular Elohim.
So
Shaman, yes, sir.
I I want to kind of go back to the burning bush thing because it kind of sounded like to me is like it wasn't actually God who infiltrated the bush. It was it was a deceiver agent that entered the bush. Is that kind of what you're getting at, or am I misunderstanding that?
No. I was excuse me. I was saying like one perspective of what that was. So I could say that was Yahweh who was an Elohim, right? And that Jews refer to as their God, and who you guys would refer to as God the Father, right? During that lineage of worship through that, right? Or I could say the other perspective of that. Remember, we're talking about Hegelian dialectic. The other perspective of it is, in fact, it is a different Elohim that told him that he was the other Elohim to go tell all those people there, because we are what they're searching for. See, all angels and demons, whether we call it angels of light, angels of dark, fallen angels in Enoch are still angels, right? Lucifer is an angel, according to, right? So they're all angels. For some reason, everything is trying to get into us, right? And ultimately, that's because we have free will, right? They say the angels have free will. So you have to remember, especially dark things, evil is trying to get a body. If you've ever seen someone that's possessed, they'll look like this. They'll be like this.
Yeah.
They can't fucking believe they're in a body again, because who knows how long they've been moving around these fucking parts without.
Yeah, they wouldn't know how to exist again.
They don't know how to operate the body.
That's why I
believe
just call them etheric beings.
Like how we do when we're babies and we're all figuring shit out.
But they remember because they have transcended memory, so they don't have necessarily distinct memory, but they are the vibration in the ether, and they have a program. So digitally would be a program, but spiritually would be like a vibration, which we would call negative and we would call positive, right?
Right.
And for some reason, there's more negative spirits in this dimension we have now than there are positive ones. And because you don't ever hear about positive spirits jumping into people's bodies right now and healing the fucking world, do we?
No.
That would be amazing. But all we hear about is the negative ones, right?
Can I dive into something a little bit funny? Do you think these spirits can possess inanimate objects like a tractor?
No.
I've seen an evil tree, so I don't know if they can get into necessarily like metal, but memory can get into it, and memory can hold a certain charge.
Would you say it would be actually more accurate that the spirit possessed you, and they're just pulling all these levers in your subconscious to trigger like auditory and visual hallucinations, and then they kind of trick you into thinking, oh, the tree's possessed, so that way you don't actually look inward. And because if you're aware, you can fight back, right?
Yeah. Toasty, the difference between like a tree or an object, more like
a tree would technically be alive,
that's been around a certain energy, it will carry just that specific
resonance.
Where you're in a possession, you're talking about a thinking being, where that thing can do and think different things. It's not just one energy of some sort that's been overlaid. Like this belt was used to beat kids for 200 years, and now it's just the beaten belt, and it's the beaten belt. And it feels horrible.
The jumping bean.
Yeah, but remember, Toasty, don't forget, I am fully possessed, and you are
fully possessed.
Yes, 100%, and so are you, and we are all fully possessed because our soul is in full possession of this body. Your soul is in possession of your body. Your soul is in possession of your body, Clay. Each of us have a soul that's possessed this body right now.
Right.
That's why it's my body and mine. But other spirits that exist want your body and this body and this.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. That's right. Wouldn't it be like the work smarter, not harder, to just like hijack your subconscious, pull those levers for like your auditory and visual receptors, make you think that something else is possessed, so that way you're not looking inward, because if you know about it, you can fight it off, right?
Well, no, I will fight it off 100%. That's kind of like what I do.
Right.
No, I'm
what I'm getting at is it's a tool of deception. They want to deceive you, so they'll make you think, oh, the tractor's possessed, so that way you never question what's
No, but when I
might actually be in your subconscious.
Yeah, but when I see a dark tree, I go
Right.
up to it and cleanse it. I don't run away from it.
No.
I'm in the middle.
See,
of,
like
I'm
a
in the middle
tree.
of
A tree
Sedona,
would be
Arizona.
technically alive, though.
I was in the middle of Sedona, Arizona, with Hopi Indians for 3 days doing peyote ceremonies in the day and ayahuasca ceremony at night for a specific event.
Jesus,
right?
that's a cocktail.
Yeah, and clearly I could tell there was this fucking evil energy from over there. And as we were moving towards this cave, which we would stay at night called the Shaman's Cave, I could feel this fucking energy, and everyone knew it. Actually, my friend, there's a book about it that my friend Sir Mark Amaru Pinkham, who's a Grand Prior of the International Order of Gnostic Templars, look up Sir Mark Pinkham. Actually, Balderson, we need to get Sir Mark here. He is a living master. Sir Mark Amaru Pinkham, right? Anyway, he wrote a book.
Write that down, please, Marcus.
Yeah, please. He's a dear brother of mine for over 15 years. I'll bring him on, no problem. So he wrote a book called Sedona, City of the Star People, where he was triangulating the story of creation from when there was one landmass of Earth, right? And
Pangea?
It took him, Pangea is a word for it, sure. And it took him, he was with these Yazidi tribes in Sumeria, and 13 Yazidis have different pieces of the map, and spent years with them. And then he pieced it together and looked over a real map, a normal map of today, and he's like, oh, fuck, that's Sedona, Arizona. And then he went to Sedona, connected with the Native American tribes, and he said, yeah. And then he started uncovering the story, Iraku, Sioux, these mean serpent names. These are like serpent names. And so we had ceremonies to consecrate this book that he spent 26 years writing. He's Indiana Jones. Like, he experienced the fucking book. And I just kept feeling this fucking weird energy over there. And at day 2, we're closer to the tree. And I feel this weird static fucking, like a light just like shining in, but chaos. And I look and I see this fucking tree, and I was like, this fucking thing is present. It did also look kind of like this, like, so it looked the part a little bit. But
been on one for a
little bit.
He was fiery last night.
I rip.
I like the fiery ant.
With medicines, whether breath work or peyote or wachuma, San Pedro, especially ayahuasca, you have the ability to draw demons out of people like it's nothing. This is not some you can just Google. By now, now ayahuasca is everywhere. It's not like but when I started 15 years ago,
the fucking problem is when you do that, like literally, I was doing it with DMT, and the guy literally said, he goes, that's where I get my power from, and asked it back.
Yeah.
Literally like a half a second later, like it left, and he went, oh, never mind.
So DMT and ayahuasca are very different things, though.
I can get the tree because a tree is kind of alive, right? So there's no reason that something couldn't possess a tree. But I'm asking about like something hardcore, like mechanical, like a microwave or a tractor.
You mean like in the movies?
You gotta understand the levels of life in order to understand why something wouldn't possess a tree like that. Toasty, that you're talking about the vegetable kingdom.
There's no essence in it, but I think
it doesn't even have.
Could a spirit move press a button or something? Maybe. I mean, it's electromagnetic energies, maybe, but I don't know about that, to be honest with you. But a spirit cannot. So ultimately, you have to remember, alchemy and its oldest alchemical explanation from alchem means the separation of spirit from matter. So spirit lives in water. So if you take a marijuana plant, like Balder said, and you extract it into the oil, and then now the essence lives in the oil. This water temple houses a spirit I call my soul. And so to extract it, it has to go into something else that has water. So if there's no water, there's no life. And so I don't believe that a spirit can live in something that's not alive.
All right.
The word
the reason I was asking is because I was kind of having my own little debate on that. And my position was basically, well, if it's demonic possession taking over a tractor, because this individual thinks that it's a demonic possession of a tractor. I'm like, that doesn't exactly make sense, because if I was a demon, I would basically go about it the Freddy Krueger route, right? I just invade your subconscious and just pull those levers, make you think that thing is possessed. So that way I don't have to make sure that you're aware of me.
Now
If
I
you're not
understand.
aware of me,
something has to at least be in the animal kingdom to be possessed.
right? Yeah,
agreed.
It's got to at least be alive.
The idea behind that too would be that, of course, with animals, we have a conscientiousness that we can essentially, fight against.
Not only that, but like
against that. So with a tree, that conscientiousness, it's not that kind of a strength there. Plus, being very inanimate, even though there's life there, there's not much purpose. But with that said, no, you're not entirely wrong, because the idea there is that the spiritistic portion there is that it's oil, really. So the life is the oil. So yes, the tractor.
No. There's a little differentiation. You're almost there. The life is inside the oil. The sulfur is not the mercury. The sulfur's riding inside the mercury.
Right. So then you've got the oil that's in the tractor, like Stephen King's Trucks. I think that's
Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, or Maximum Overdrive. Yeah, that idea.
I don't.
Can it take over the truck itself? It's taking over the oil.
To have a consciousness for something to overtake that consciousness.
It's in the oil. It's in the water.
Jesus.
Would a machine have the nexus to hold the consciousness?
It doesn't have the ability to hold the consciousness. That's why it doesn't have.
Right,
one.
it's
not.
They're overtaking a consciousness, so it has to be animal kingdom at the very lowest.
It has to be alive. What a jinn or a genie, a spirit, whatever you want to call it.
The common sense
is
thought
adding personification onto a jinn, which is a genie. The fear that your fear, not your a fear, is what nourishes, what feeds your mortality, and your mortality, especially like mortal fear, is how they enter, because it can only come in a few ways. Number one is fear, like this. They go, why would a ghoul?
Right, because you let go of your conscience for a second.
The fear is the door for it to come in. That's how it happens, right? Okay. Number two is it has to be invited. That's why you have sex magic with a K, Aleister Crowley rituals. That's why you have these rituals. That's why you make things. That's why
the vampire methods.
You torture someone because just the same way that if you leave meat out, eventually out of nowhere, out of thin air, parasites just fucking create. Because parasites are also essences of spirits, and fear inside of of this fucking temple is creating a food that spirits aren't coming from somewhere. They can just fucking appear out of nowhere. Okay. They can just materialize, not really materialize in the form of materia, but they can
some of them can.
They can.
And there's actually, and in my example for this is called it's called a thermophile. And when you're composting and composting just regular old compost, when that reaches the perfect conditions, thermophiles will literally blink into existence because we have microscopes we can attach to computers and just watch this shit 24 hours a day. This has now been discovered. The fucking thing will just do its job. And when the conditions are now wrong because it did its job, it disappears. There's not even a corpse. Fucking thing just disappears. This carries over to larger levels.
Yeah, I'm only going to keep tapping into Jesus because I know we have a bunch of Christians here. Jesus said over and over and over again, fear not, overcome your fear, right? Do not, right?
Right.
And the entire story of him going to the underworld and he went to Hades, right? Which is ironic because that's a Greek hell.
To go get all the great philosophers and stuff like that out of hell.
But he wasn't afraid.
Right.
So you can walk into the pits of fucking hell, into the den of the jinn, And if you have zero fucking fear, which the only way you can balance that fear is through your breath, which is taking essence, controlling your essence, breathing in through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, right? Like on a very high level, shamanic level, like most people say shamans are assholes, but you have probably never met a real one. The reason why they're assholes, people will say, is because they don't answer your questions. They'll just walk away. The reason is not because they're an asshole, because they can look at you and they know that you're not ready for the answer. So they don't want to waste a breath on you, but not in a rude way of a breath. It's because you understand that a single breath is an entire life. When you when you breathe in through the nose, you created a life. That journey of the exhale is an actual entire life. So what was the purpose of that fucking life? So if you can just think of light or peace and you inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, then you have dedicated an entire life in a breath to something. And so if you're in the pits of the hell, if you can focus on keeping the breath, then you are expanding your body from this physical where mortality exists into your etheric, which would be a force field, and recharging the force field and you can go anywhere on earth and have no problem. But the second then it all goes away instantaneously and you could get, so you have to be very careful.
Would you say it's more accurate? It's actually more accurate to say that the Holy Trinity would be like mind, body, and spirit.
Of course.
Well, it would be.
I've heard people be like, "That's interesting. I've never thought about it that way."
As an alchemist, it's the sulfur, the salt, and the fucking mercury.
Yeah. Now, go ahead, Balderson. Sorry. Go ahead.
Now, you understand that. See, like as an Odinist, Odin gives you your high mind. So this is it's just a 3-part series. So your high mind, the thing that's capable of that plants don't have, capable of doing like a plant, it's going to live, it's going to grow, it's going to do things like reach for the sun, reach for water, but it doesn't think about any of that. These are the only things that it does. It does what it does. Where you are specifically given a high mind where you can think outside of your natural reactions. You can actually do things like hurt yourself if you want. You can make all kinds of different choices that aren't just a programmed response. Then you also have to have your salt, which is the crystalline structuring of your body. And as a human, you have like 12 cellular salts that are basically running your system. They're doing everything from doing your electroconduction, your electroconductivity, all that's set by your salts. And so that's why if you start, the Romans, they used to give them salt. You start out sweating your salt. Oh, fuck. You are in a lot of trouble. You can't conduct anymore. Then you have to have the thing that allows these two things to transfer, these two energies to move with each other. And that's where the mercury comes in. That's why mercury is always liquid, even if it's water, because what it is it's a solvent. And so that's why all transactions, all communications, things like that happen in mercury's purview, because that transaction, that move, that energetic move can't happen without the mercury there to make it happen. And so we're all 3-part. That's why from my perspective, and I can totally, like, we have 3 actual minds that are all working very separately
and interconnected.
They're interconnected, but they are also separate. And what your job is to make them one thing.
This is Balderson, I'm not surprised, by the way. This is the perfect alchemical explanation. And this, by the way, my friends, is where they got the development of the idea of the Trinity, and the entire language with Trinitarianism came from. Because remember, early Christians, you could call them, they refer to them now as Gnostics, but these were Christian mystics. Christianity has always been mystical. If you only just read what Jesus wrote and don't read inside of it, then you're not paying attention to what Jesus meant, right? I mean, Clay, you get that. Right. That's the whole point. And again, I'm just saying Jesus and Christianity because of everyone here, because the idea of a cosmic mind is super early understanding, a cosmic mind. Every time
Cosmic mind goes way back.
Yeah, well, it's Greek, but every time you've ever heard any of these early church fathers mentioning the nous and mentioning all these Greek terminologies, Sethians and the Valentinius and all these early church fathers, Origen, all these guys are referring to the old Greek shit. They're understanding Arius. Arius, oh, he's a fucking heretic. Really? Why? Because he was telling you probably one of the best explanations of fucking reality. And where Jesus fit into that reality as a Christian, you know, I mean, Clement of Alexandria, all these guys, man, all these guys, most of them were referring to God the Father as something very separate and the source of eternal life, and where all eternal life came from, and where Jesus came from and returns to. But here's the thing: so do I, and so do we all. If you believe in the soul.
This is why he says he's the light of the Father and he's the salt of David. It's always two things. And the ego, what the ego is doing is as an alchemist, the great work understanding is for these opposing forces to stay together. We needed this carbon body because the sulfur naturally wants to rise and the salt wants to sink. The sulfur vaporizes and leaves, the salt drops down and goes back into the earth. You're a combination of the crystals from the earth and this etheric energy, and it's all, and these two opposing forces are just being trapped inside of you. But the thing is they're only oppositional because you haven't fixed it. Like two things that look like they're opposing, when you go like that, they're actually going the same, but you've got to make that happen. You've got to actually force those two things back together. And it's only through the loving mother, the feminine, that transaction can happen, is where the male can heal itself and become one, where the high sulfur and the low salt become one thing again. And this is the actual great work. When you're doing that, you give the carbon, the water, and the cellular material back to the earth. That's your ashes. And then your water's what the earth part is instead of the oil. And fucking the carbon, which is what's binding these whole opposing forces. That's your ego. Your ego is the thing making this whole test possible for you to eventually, hopefully, figure out how to become something greater.
Yeah, another word is the pleroma, which was Valentinus. I said Valentinia or something like this. I'm not very familiar with everyone, but Valentinus referred to the cosmic mind as when he said we're three minds. When Balderson was talking about this, is a very early understanding, and again, it all came from the Greeks, and they learned it all from the Egyptians. It's like, what's the problem? Why is there a problem with these Orthodox bros? Like, oh, it didn't come from this. What do you mean, dude? You're telling me
they stole so much from the freaking Greek philosophy.
Fine. It doesn't even take away from your thing. Like, you're telling me that this one group that happens to be Orthodox Christianity has no influence from the Greeks, but the rest of the whole fucking world does.
You're basically suggesting like it's all the same story, just different characters.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Listen,
I don't think it's all the same story, but I think it kind of is, because the world works the way it works. So even over here, even though the characters are different, even though the story's not exactly the same, it's basically the same, because the world's only got certain guidelines and certain ways that you have to do things. This is why alchemy takes out the religion out of it and is just trying to look at the actual base of what's happening. And if you don't understand that you have three minds, you've not been in extreme conditions. Like, the best example I have is, like, when I was in prison, there's guys that go on what's called a food strike. You can do a food strike. I've seen dudes go 6 weeks without eating. It's no problem. Like, all these stories where people are trapped on a mountain for 3 days and they're eating each other, that's nonsense. But a water strike, I've seen guys go on water strikes and they can't. I've never seen a guy make it past 5 days. And what's fucked up is when you're in the hole in prison, in the shoe, the fucking Only thing in there is 2 metal slats that are bunks, and then a stainless steel toilet with a sink on the back. And the sink drains into the toilet. These guys, when they break, their high mind, for all it's worth, wants to stay on this strike. Their ego wants to stay on that strike. But when their fucking low mind says, I'm done with not drinking, motherfucker, I don't give a shit. Every dude I've seen do that sticks their face right in the fucking toilet and starts slurping up toilet water. And most of them will puke after the fact, but they will start slurping that motherfucking toilet water like it's fucking candy, because their lower mind is like, don't care how you feel about this no more, bro. We drinking
Surrender.
water.
Yeah.
And the fucked up part is when they do that, there's literally a button that's closer than that toilet that they could have pushed and had nice clean water go into their mouth. But that low mind, it don't care.
They don't care. Yeah, I don't care after that.
I see water that's going in my mouth right now. And those guys are always like, I don't know why I did that. And you're like, yeah, because you're
the animal mind
had a disconnect. That animal mind.
The animal mind.
Don't give a shit. Your ego mind also wasn't cool because it was like, I just drank toilet water. Your high mind was like, I just gave up my fucking water
dignity.
My water fucking restrictions.
And this is how if you take that
water.
And if you take that exact case study of a single person under duress and look at the entire world, that's the difference between the animal of man and mankind and the human and humanity. Humanity and mankind are two very fucking different things, you know. And also to tap into what Balderson was saying, into what we started off with, you know, if you talk about like the great work, the concept is to take a base metal to transform it into gold. And it's talking about me. It's saying to turn this base metal of me into pure gold, which is when a star implodes or explodes, gold is the least metal that's created. That's why it's considered precious, right? And silver, and so on and so on and so on. But that's the universe. And so, but once in the late 1700s, after Sir Isaac Newton, who was an alchemist who became the father of modern science, the concept always was trying to turn metal into physical gold. It's always been like a Rumpelstiltskin thing of spinning gold out of nothing. And our whole world has left the spiritual concept of alchemy, and we turned everything into a materialistic, eat the organs. We're just organ harvesting, like we've gone into this fucking disastrous path because we've gotten away from the essence. That's the difference.
Away from the lab.
The essence of it.
We've gotten away from the lab.
I noticed it's a reoccurring theme in the Bible that every time you walk away from the way I've told you to live, you turn into basically nothing but an animal. You just degenerate, you deteriorate, you get more and more base about everything you want to do.
I can name so many different spiritual and religious paths and tell you the exact fucking story, book, chapter, verse, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Zoroastrian, Manichaeism, fucking so many of them in the last 3,000 years, and they have the same exact stories and the same exact points to teach us the same fucking thing that we all still need to learn now and next generation, the one before, and so on. Ooh. It's all about good versus evil within us and outside of us. And even look, for example, the word jihad. Perfect example.
Right.
In Islam, jihad is nothing to do with the outside world. The jihad is a war against your own inner darkness. You declare it on your fucking self. But Wahhabi Islam is created in the 1780s as an ideology and implemented at the same exact time as Zionism. Oh, how ironic. And now jihad becomes the fucking infidels. Oh, they don't believe this? Infidels. So we're going to create jihad outside. It's a new fucking problem.
But the whole thing,
it's against Islam.
It's not like a bad. That's the whole thing, is they got to take the good evil out of it. It's the fucking chaotic masculine and the fucking stable masculine. It's the ice and the fire, and you're trying to realign those two things and make them into one. So you have the totality of the masculine, and then that total realized man merges with the feminine, and now you're an entire realized being. So the two things, you got to take the evil out of it.
It's an animal mind. Instead of doing the work to rise yourself up from the animal of man into the ascended human, right?
But it's also the crystal mind, Omar. And the thing is that's what gives you your will, your walking power. Those if everything was etheric, there's a reason that them fuckers are constantly nagging us, because they can't do what we do, and that comes with the animal mind, bro. Free will's on the animal side,
sure,
not on the etheric side. When you look at the tree of life, the free will is like when you're looking at your body. The heart is the earth center, the centerpiece, the zero line. The will is here. It's not in this high mind. It's down here.
Absolutely.
This is why this is part of what comes with being a threefold being, which etheric beings are not.
Yep.
Is that we have access to both sides.
We are in both sides.
Yes, because we exist down here and up here.
Yep.
We have both. They're only one-sided.
In Hinduism and yogic paths, the seventh chakra is represented as a crown, right, which is the solar disc, which ties into a lot of other things. But this means that this is the top. This is your non-physical. So if you were to tie it into like modern concept of Christianity, when you see like pictures and images of like angels with wings and they're naked, no one ever thought that the angels were flying with wings naked and being in bodies of light. That's not what our ancestors thought. It was a depiction showing that these beings transcended the material, even from the perspective of clothes. And that's why they have a light aura, similar to this image I have now. Mine's a little not the same.
It's not why the Romans made them babies, the cherubs? Because they also attain full innocence?
Well,
the purity even higher.
Monstrosities that angels are as described aren't that heartwarming.
Yeah, but exactly. Go to exactly, and it's actually spelled out real. The go look at the Anyway, but here's the thing: these were symbolisms to show this being ascended to their higher self. Because up here,
but that's the problem. This is why they don't ever reach it, because that's wrong.
No,
you don't just ascend. You both, as an alchemist, I bring
the inside is
epitome. And it's salt to its epitome, and then I merge them back together in the middle.
No, but I'm talking about consciously,
and I'm talking about this is their problem, because they're all everything for them and their story is a descension and then an ascension. It's not how it works. This is a part of being a threefold being is you have the crystal and the sulfur, and then you're working at fixing things in the middle. This is why when you put a good and an evil to it, you've already lost the battle, because rectifying these two sides is the whole fucking first step of that actual becoming something more.
True.
Now, I had a question.
But I would say what you're saying would be chapter 2 or step 2. Chapter 1 or step 1 would be speaking to them in their existing languages. So, for example, explaining that the higher, because everyone's looking for heaven. So you have
but then at what point do you start teaching them that the other side, the demon side, is actually fine too?
No, after chapter 1, you go to chapter 2. What do you mean when? You explain that the higher self is your angelic self. You don't go to your angelic self later when you die. Your angelic self is your higher self now. Their higher self that they say
basically
is your angelic self. And then you turn the page now, and then you go to chapter 2 of how to do it. Balderson?
So like basically, to put it in the maybe some better layman terms, is you live your life now doing all these other things, so that way when you die or whatever and you go up to heaven, you're going to understand why you don't want to do those bad things in heaven, which creates the perfect heaven. Correct?
No, you find heaven in yourself now. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what Balderson's is talking manual, like how to understand how to do it now. I'm using like the symbol for the caduceus to symbolize the ascension according to this physical temple and the Abrahamic idea of ascending, right? We would say heaven is up, but the world's spinning. So up could be down.
Basically how to give you heaven without.
I agree with Jung that there is a overall zeitgeist or subconscious, And the more
Shadow?
you feed truth into that, the more that starts becoming just a known fucking thing. The more you start moving that Overton window. This is where I disagree with the yogis that think that they're wasting a breath. I think I'm changing the public zeitgeist.
Well, no, that's why, but brother, that's why you go into the jungle and you're trying to find yourself, and then you get the message that it's time to take your ass back to the urban jungle where you're needed. I don't respect the monk that stays in the monk's lair with all monks. I respect the monk that leaves the peace and brings it to the fucking cities of Manhattan. And
That's what I'm talking about. That was the debate world. That's been the debate world for me. Trying to learn how to take.
That's why I'm ready to talk at any time, at any time, so to speak. That's the whole point. That's why I'm trying not to get into the geopolitics of things and trying to get more into the theology stuff, try to lead people into a certain direction. And that's why these conversations are important. Because we don't have restrictions. But if we were talking with 4 Muslims here, then I would have to refer to Islam. Or if we're talking to 4 Jews, then I have to tap into Jews, or we're tapping into whoever.
That's why I dropped back to alchemy, because then I could.
I understood more. I understood more when you stayed scientific than when you got into Christianity. Because when you got into Christianity, I don't agree with you on a lot of these terms. Like the idea that the soul is this thing outside of the body. That's not a Christian thing. It's not a Judeo.
No, your soul's in your. It's in your body, brother. What do you mean?
It's not. It says man became a living soul. If it's inside of the body and it can go out.
Yeah, I don't think shamans.
No,
I don't think shamans saying the soul exists outside your body.
No, my soul's in my body right now.
In there.
Yeah, so he's saying it's in there and it can leave.
Well, if you die,
when you die.
Yeah, no, it's no longer. You're dead.
No, see, that's you guys believe that eternal life is a gift only if you through your faith. I'm saying that by your very birth in this material.
That's what I'm saying, because I don't believe that, right? So
yeah, but I'm not.
You're going to Christianity, but you're using something that's not in Christianity.
No,
you're using the Greek understanding of the soul.
Alchemy.
You're using the Greek understanding of the soul to explain Christianity.
No. We both know that's not Christianity. That's why I disagree with Christianity. You believe that through your faith, you'll be gifted eternal life. I know that you and I both have eternal life when we were here, before we came into this body, and when we leave, regardless. Now, that eternal life could be good or bad. That's where karma comes in our actions. But we already have eternal life. And that's my biggest argument.
Like I said, when it comes to the occult, I was understanding more when you stuck to the sciences, because when you went to the Christianity stuff, I'm like, no, that's not anything to do with Christianity.
This is why I bring the actual lab alchemy back to the discussion. Because once I do that, it starts grounding these ideas and
materialism.
And then I let exactly, you have to bring it back to materialism, and then understand through the Hermetic teachings, teach them as above, so below. That
let's go back to it.
The way things work in the seen also work in the unseen. Just because it's at this lower level, a simple lock works the same as a more complex lock. It's still doing the same actions. And you take that in that under lower understandings. This is why I love using spagyrics, because it's easy to understand. And thank Odin, in the marijuana world, people give a shit about their drugs. So they will listen to you bang on about the different levels of cannabis and shit like that. It's hilarious. And then they're like, oh my God, because you can understand that there's 3, each of those as an alchemist in deeper occult. It's you're 3-minded, but here's where as above comes below, as above, so below. Each of those breaks down into 3 levels. And so like with cannabis, you have 3 levels of oil. So you're going to have your terpenes is your most volatile, your CBD, and then your THC is your most stable. And then you're going to go to your ego, and your ego is what I call the salt, or the carbon, the water, and the cellular material. You get rid of those 3 things. Then you go down to your salt level, and you'll notice there's always 3 levels of salt then, and each of those 3 levels breaks up into 4. This is where the sacred 12 comes from, is because and what those each of those 4 is is actually a different aspect of the one. So that 3, it turns into 4 aspects of the 3, which is the one level, and you have 3 of this setup, as above, so below. I'll go grab my book of which the salts are and better explain that breakdown on the 4 aspects being the one thing in just a second. And then when you go to the oil level, this is why you have THCA, THCB, blah, 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 because you have each one is slightly different, but it's all the same thing.
Listen, where do you guys want to go? Secret societies, alchemy?
I actually
before you do that, I had a question, Shaman. With the free will and everything, are there rules to the free will? Like, Balderson was saying, like, forces of good and evil. Once you go beyond that, you kind of lose it all. But I've always kind of felt like forces of evil, let's just call it that for simplicity's sake. But I feel like they're pigeonholed in a way, like they can't affect man directly.
Well, they're trapped.
They can do indirect type of things.
The story of Job, right? I mean, it can't penetrate you, but it can fucking break down everything around you. And then,
well, the lower level, the actual lower level, what you guys would call demons, they don't have the higher mind. So they're angels. Here's your center point, your heart zone, your 0 point. Angels have access up here. Demons have access down here. So demons can actually do things like move an object, or what you would look at is like the spirit of deterioration.
I'll use the example of a cigarette.
They don't think. So when you're looking at that side, it's what they call principalities and what's the other word, Omar? It's something in principalities.
I know what you're saying too.
So an easy way to explain how this works is like a pack
authorities.
Yeah. And so an easy way to explain the way these work is like with a pack of dogs. You'll see a pack of dogs, and when fight, kill overtakes those dogs, they will suddenly turn on one of their friends and start tearing at their friends. It's just a fucking frenzy. The dogs, 90% of the dogs in this didn't even have anything to do with whatever kicked it off. And they all of a sudden are all just in a fucking weird attack frenzy. And you can feel that fucking energy take over. Especially if you're somebody that like raises dogs. You can feel these and their principalities, their energies, and they will overtake you and but it doesn't have a higher mind. It only has an extremely limited range of
will.
What it's going to do.
Limited will.
It does. It doesn't have higher thought. It has the will. It will make you can't hardly help but be dragged
in humans that's referred to as the reptilian brain or our cortex.
Right. Yeah, it's the lower end. Yeah. And so what you're looking at then is, while that spirit is going to try drag everything around into that fight, that panicked, vicious fight, what it's not going to do is start having a philosophical thought of, well, what if maybe instead of fight, we take this energy and we transform it? Oh, none of that happens.
Think of the loss of control of conscientiousness. So the loss of the control of your conscientiousness.
Let me backtrack, you guys.
Right.
I'm looking at it as like a creational type of standpoint where God is a creator. The other side isn't for creation. It's for destruction. So when it comes to free will, we can do whatever the fuck we personally want.